Chapter 1089. The fact that there were no restrictions in the Dragon Palace was very surprising. Perhaps it had been broken by someone, or perhaps it didn't exist in the first place. No one knew the exact situation and no one cared. What they cared about was what was inside the Dragon Palace. Lin Xian followed the crowd and walked into the Dragon Palace. He ignored the treasures around him because one thing attracted his attention. Not only him, but everyone's attention was drawn to it. In the middle of the Dragon Palace, there was a dragon pillar with 2 dragons engraved on it that were coiling around each other. Between the 2 dragon heads, there was a blue crystal ball that was flowing with brilliance. It was obvious that it contained powerful energy. The Dragon Pearl! Someone shouted. Immediately, everyone's gaze was focused on it. This energy, countless people were excited, including the older generation figures. However, in the next moment, everyone's expression changed and revealed a look of shock. That was because there was a white figure in front of them. Zhao Shui! A disciple exclaimed. It was indeed Zhao Shui. Moreover, not only was there Zhao Shui, there were also other figures. Those were all sea monsters. Many of them were injured and a few of them were lying on the ground. They had obviously been killed. It seemed that before they arrived, Zhao Shui had a huge battle with those people. However, it didn't seem to be going well because the Dragon Pearl was still under the protection of those sea monsters. Lin Xian's expression was also solemn because he knew that in order to obtain the Dragon Pearl, he had to defeat those sea monsters. He frowned slightly and looked ahead. In front of him, there were 3 powerful mermaids with human bodies and shark heads. They looked ferocious and there was a shark tail on their backs. The 3 of them were abnormally powerful and far surpassed the other sea monsters. In addition to the 3 of them, there was an even more dangerous pure-blooded mermaid. That person was even more demonic. His entire body was shrouded in an inky aura, and his hair was fluffy like the tentacles of an octopus that kept twisting. In addition to his strange appearance, his aura was also the most powerful. He had reached the 5th heaven of the supremacy realm. Seeing this scene, many people were inwardly shocked, and even more people wanted to continue onward. Everyone stepped back. Zhao Shui didn't turn around, but she reminded him coldly. However, no one cared. From their point of view, Zhao Shui simply didn't want them to participate. In front of such a precious Dragon Ball, how could these people listen? Thus, in an instant, many disciples rushed forward. However, in the next instant, those people started to panic. This was because all the martial artists who approached the Dragon Ball were pulled by a suction force and uncontrollably walked forward. Moreover, the closer they got to the Dragon Ball, the less flesh they had. In the end, they were reduced to a pile of bones. The elders of the Divine Bird Palace roared madly, because among them were their proud disciples. Elder Song and the rest of the elders were also shocked. They kept shouting, no one was allowed to go over. In fact, even without Elder Song's reprimand, everyone retreated. No one dared to step forward. The scene just now was too strange. Those disciples who had turned into skeletons did not scream in pain. They even had smiles on their faces as if they were on a pilgrimage. What's the situation? This thing is too strange. Yeah, it's as if there's some kind of magical power that can attract people. Damn it, I don't want to go up anymore. This thing doesn't look good. Many disciples shook their heads madly. Hey, someone went up? Fuck, who's so fierce? Does he want to die? Seeing someone not retreating, these people were stunned and screamed. Lin Xian, it's junior brother Lin. The disciples of the Immortal Martial Academy exclaimed. Junior brother Lin, come back quickly. Bing Ling and the rest shouted, trying to call Lin Xian back. Not good. Could it be that he's under the influence of evil? What should we do? That Dragon Ball is too strange. The disciples of the Immortal Martial Academy were anxious. Elder Song and the rest also had a gloomy expression. On the other side, the people of the Divine Bird Palace sneered. Originally, they had lost many disciples and their mood was heavy. But now, seeing this scene, they were all excited. Huh, it's that brat. He's also under the influence of evil? That's great. He's really overestimating himself. Even the elders don't dare to go up. A junior actually dares to go near, he's really courting death. The evils we bring on ourselves are the hardest to bear. The group of disciples of the Divine Bird Palace sneered. But soon, they couldn't laugh anymore because they found that Lin Xian was fine. His body wasn't injured, and his face didn't show any infatuation. He even stopped halfway. What's going on? Could it be that the brat is fine? How is this possible? The group of disciples of the Divine Bird Palace looked as if they had seen a ghost. Ha, I knew it. With junior brother Lin's ability, he'll definitely be fine. Yeah, since junior brother Lin dares to go up, it means that he's confident. Ridiculous, some people are still mocking him. He's really slapping himself in the face. Dare to doubt junior brother Lin? Is there something wrong with his head? The people of the Immortal Martial Academy retorted, looking at the Divine Bird Palace with disdain. These people were too despicable. This was a slap in the face. Hearing these mocking words, the faces of the people of the Divine Bird Palace darkened, their expressions cold. Zhao Shui was also very surprised. She didn't expect that there would be someone who could walk up. So, she looked at Lin Xian a few more times. Lin Xian shrugged and said slowly, "From the situation just now, those people should be affected by the soul power. So as long as they're careful, don't get confused, and stand outside the safety line, there shouldn't be a problem." Lin Xian wouldn't joke around with his life. The reason why he walked up was because he understood everything. Since Zhao Shui was fine, it meant that the Dragon Ball wasn't as scary as imagined. Or it could be said that there was a condition for it to be scary. After analyzing, Lin Xian found this condition. That was why he was able to stand safely now. When the people behind heard this, they also showed a look of realization. A small number of people showed a happy expression, but most of them still had a bitter expression. Doubtful, they didn't have such strong soul power. Elder Song and a few of the older generation people breathed a sigh of relief and carefully approached. Duge Outyan's whole body was filled with sword intent and was incomparably sharp. Naturally, he wasn't afraid of any soul power interference. Li Yunfei also raised his hand and threw out a tattered picture scroll, holding it above his head, and slowly approached. This picture scroll was yellowed. Although it was incomplete, its aura was terrifying. At this moment, rays of light hung down, enveloping Li Yunfei. On the other side, the elders of the Divine Bird Palace also used various methods to get closer to the Dragon Ball. Lin Xian didn't care about those people behind him. The reason why he said it was because he knew that it was easy to get close, but it was very difficult to seize the Dragon Ball. He had to borrow the strength of everyone. Zhao Shui also didn't care. At this moment, she was staring at the Dragon Ball, carefully studying it. Because she felt an inexplicable sense of danger, so she didn't act rashly. Chapter 1090. What do you think? Zhao Shui asked. Lin Xian was slightly surprised. He didn't expect Zhao Shui to ask him. After pondering for a moment, he slowly said, "Logically speaking, such an important place should be protected by layers of formations. But there's nothing here. Don't you think it's strange?" Hearing this, Zhao Shui nodded lightly. Lin Xian continued, "There must be something wrong when things are out of the ordinary. So I think this Dragon Ball must be very evil. Or rather, there are dangers here that we don't know about. Your analysis is about the same as mine," Zhao Shui said softly. Then she moved her jade-like feet and walked forward. It seemed like she wanted to deal with the sea demons in front of her. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. To be honest, he also wanted to get this Dragon Ball because the energy contained in it was too strong. If he could get it, his cultivation base would definitely increase again. So, seeing Zhao Shui walking forward, Lin Xian also took a deep breath and moved forward again. Seeing this, the disciples of the Immortal Martial Academy were shocked. They had just taken a few steps and were almost affected by the Dragon Ball and lost their minds. Lin Xian was even closer than them, but he was fine and still wanted to move forward. The gap between them was too big. The disciples of the Divine Bird Palace were even more gloomy. They glared at Lin Xian fiercely and wanted to eat him alive. Damn it, this kid is too strange. He can actually get so close. Is he not afraid of the Dragon Ball's influence? How is that possible? This kid is too arrogant. Just watch, he'll be in trouble soon. Yes, maybe he'll lose his mind soon and become a pile of bones. The disciples of the Divine Bird Palace said fiercely. However, to their disappointment, Lin Xian was not affected at all. In fact, he even reached the front of the two dragon pillars in the end. Looking at the lifelike dragon pillars, Lin Xian was amazed. However, he didn't act rashly because the Dragon Ball was affecting him too much at this moment. If he made the slightest mistake, he would be affected. It could be said that although Lin Xian appeared to be safe, he was actually in grave danger. However, when Lin Xian activated the Great Dragon Sword Soul, all the effects disappeared. The Great Dragon Sword Spirit was an offensive saint art that could destroy everything. Therefore, even if the Dragon Orb was very strange, it could not fight against the Great Dragon Sword Spirit. In fact, the moment Lin Xian activated the Great Dragon Sword Soul, the Dragon Pearl trembled slightly before releasing an even more demonic light. Lin Xian noticed this. Could it be that the Dragon Pearl is afraid of the Great Dragon Sword Spirit? Thinking of this, he was overjoyed. If that was really the case, then that would be great. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian extended his hand and slowly reached for the two dragon pillars. The next moment he touched the dragon pillar. On the two dragon pillars, two real dragons were engraved, circling each other. At this moment, Lin Xian's hand gently brushed it, causing an energy fluctuation. Lin Xian was overjoyed because he felt that the two dragon pillars also contained powerful energy. Although it was not as powerful as the dragon orb, it was still very amazing. More importantly, Lin Xian could now come into contact with it. Seeing this scene, everyone was extremely envious, while the people of the Divine Bird Palace gritted their teeth. Damn it, why is he still okay? Impossible, this is an illusion, this must be an illusion. Damn, how is it possible he really touched the dragon pillar? The people of the Divine Bird Palace felt like they were going crazy, and even the elders' faces were gloomy. However, at this moment, an angry voice came from behind, like the roar of a savage beast. Stupid humans, how dare you disturb the Dragon King's rest? You will all die. This voice was filled with endless anger. When everyone heard this, they were shocked and turned around. Then, they saw a sea demon rushing over quickly. He was still injured, as if he had just experienced a great battle. Prime Minister Hai, this group of humans wants to snatch the dragon orb. A few surviving sea demons screamed. Prime Minister Hai rushed over quickly, and when he saw the sea demon corpses all over the ground, he was so angry that he trembled. Damn humans, how dare you kill my sea tribe's people? The Dragon King will not let you off. Everyone's face changed because Prime Minister Hai's aura was too powerful, almost at the 7th heavenly layer of Venerable Realm. For such a character, except for Zhao Shui, no one among them could stop him. However, what shocked them even more was that this powerful Prime Minister Hai seemed to be injured, and the injuries were fresh. Who was it that could injure Prime Minister Hai? Just as everyone was puzzled, another earth-shaking shout came from behind them, accompanied by a terrifying aura that overflowed into the sky. In the next moment, countless figures rushed over from afar, bringing with them a powerful torrent, and their momentum was terrifying. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned, and even Lin Xian frowned. Because there were too many people, and it was almost the same as the team of the Immortal Martial Academy and the Divine Bird Palace. Such a team was in existence that couldn't be ignored, not to mention that they were here for the Dragon Orb. Moreover, there was a powerful aura of the 7th heavenly layer of Venerable Realm. Even Elder Song and the rest had a gloomy expression on their faces. The person in the lead was a middle-aged man in a silver robe, holding a folding fan in his hand. When he waved it, it brought about surging waves. Courting death. Prime Minister Hai was furious when he saw those people chasing him. In a flash, he arrived near the dragon orb and quickly waved the staff in his hand. Lord Dragon King, please bestow me power. Following his incantation, the dragon orb above suddenly released a dazzling light, and a dragon-shaped spiritual energy flew out from the dragon orb and entered Prime Minister Hai's body. Immediately, Prime Minister Hai's face lit up, and a low sound came from his body, like thunder. A layer of light gushed out and enveloped him. insignificant tricks, no matter what you use, it's futile. Stay here. The voice of the middle-aged man holding the fan was cold, like that of an emperor. In the next moment he waved the folding fan in his hand, and a huge curved wind blade was released. The seawater was ruthlessly cut open, and the entire underwater world seemed to be cut in half. That middle-aged man was a 7th heavenly layer venerable, and his attack was naturally terrifying. The azure wind blade's arc was like a heavenly blade, ruthlessly standing on Prime Minister Hai's body. Bang! A violent trembling sound rang out, spreading in all directions. Light bloomed on Prime Minister Hai's body, forming the strongest armor to protect his body. This energy came from the dragon orb above, mysterious and unfathomable. Although there was only one, it was still terrifying. The aura contained in it wasn't something that venerables could understand. Therefore, this huge wind blade didn't cause any damage to the light. What? Chapter 1091. When the huge wind blade struck Prime Minister Hai's body, it emitted a sonorous rumble. However, to everyone's surprise, the terrifying attack only emitted a deafening sound and did not cause any substantial damage to Prime Minister Hai. What? How is this possible? The middle-aged man with the folding fan was extremely shocked. His face was filled with horror. This was completely beyond his expectations because not long ago, Prime Minister Hai had been beaten to the point of vomiting blood and had fled with serious injuries. However, in just a short moment, his opponent had become so powerful that he could ignore his attack. This was too strange. The cultivators that followed the middle-aged man were also shocked. They were all dumbfounded. However, at this moment, Prime Minister Hai moved. He waved the staff in his hand, forming a huge blue light that surged forward like a wave. In an instant, the middle-aged man was beaten back. Everyone was stunned when they saw this scene because the middle-aged man was a 7th heavenly layer Exalt Realm expert. However, he was actually unable to defeat a sea demon. This was simply too shocking. Lin Xian also frowned. He did not stay and quickly left the dragon pillar. He realized that the reason why Prime Minister Hai was so powerful was because he had used the energy within the dragon pearl. He retreated to a safe place and silently observed the situation ahead. In front, the middle-aged man stabilized his body with a shocked expression. However, in the next moment, a powerful aura erupted from his body and he attacked again. Prime Minister Hai sneered and quickly waved his staff. Immediately, the two attacks collided again. The 7th heavenly layer venerable was beaten back again with a pale face. Seeing this scene, everyone was silent. Lin Xian's frown deepened. He realized that Prime Minister Hai's attack did not have any profound technique, but the energy it contained was extremely terrifying. It was completely using energy to crush the sea demon. However, the suppression of power was the most difficult to resist. Unless the other party had a supreme technique like the Great Dragon Sword Spirit like him, only then would they be able to fight above their level. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to defeat this sea demon. Dragon King Tsunami. After repelling the middle-aged man with one move, Prime Minister Hai shouted again. This time, he raised the staff in his hand high and connected it to the dragon pearl above. A blue energy wave radiated from the staff and spread to the surroundings. In an instant, it enveloped the entire dragon palace. In the next moment, all the martial artists present were horrified. This was because they discovered that the spiritual energy in their bodies was disappearing at a rapid rate. This phenomenon was too terrifying. Because the martial artists had lost their spiritual power, it was difficult for them to display any strength. And now, the situation was so dangerous. Without spiritual power, they could not fight against the sea demons. Lin Xian also felt the loss of spirit energy in his body. At the same time, he quickly used his soul force to carefully investigate. He found that the lost spirit energy was all flowing into the dragon ball in front of him. As for the dragon ball, it shone even brighter. With a cold snort, Lin Xian operated the great dragon sword soul in his body and quickly cut off this connection. In the next moment, the spiritual energy in his body returned to normal and no longer flowed out. However, the others were not so lucky. They could not escape the deprivation of the Dragon Balls. However, they would not sit still and wait for death. The middle-aged man at the 7th level Venerable hurriedly shouted, "Are you guys from the Immortal Martial Academy and the Divine Bird Palace? We are from the Merry Woods. Now that the situation is very dangerous, I think we should join forces." "All right. Sure." Elder Song did not hesitate and immediately agreed. The Divine Bird Palace also quickly responded. There was no other way. In the current situation, they could not escape by themselves. Only by joining forces would they have a chance. After getting the response from the Immortal Martial Academy and the Divine Bird Palace, the 7th level Venerable's confidence increased greatly. He led the disciples of the Merry Woods and quickly counterattacked. Elder Song and the elders of the Divine Bird Palace also erupted with energy in their bodies and attacked with all their might. The Immortal Martial Academy, the Divine Bird Palace, and the Merry Woods were all super forces. Their disciples were all geniuses. Coupled with a group of powerful elders and a 7th heavenly layer venerable expert, their combined strength was incomparably terrifying. When everyone attacked, terrifying energy exploded, causing the entire Dragon Palace to shake violently. Even if Prime Minister Hai used the energy in the Dragon Ball, he still felt very strained in the face of such a terrifying counterattack. Not only that, the 7th level Venerable Expert even joined forces with the older generation and attacked crazily, quickly surrounding and killing Prime Minister Hai. "We must kill him. Otherwise, none of us will be able to survive today." The 7th level Venerable roared. His voice shook the sky and spread in all directions. It was related to their lives, so those disciples did not hold back. They attacked crazily and attacked with all their might. Prime Minister Hai's cultivation was only at the 7th level Venerable realm. With his own strength, it was impossible for him to contend against such a big scene. It was only by relying on the energy in the Dragon Ball that he could contend against them. However, with his cultivation, he could only roughly mobilize the energy. He could not unleash the full power of the energy. This gave everyone a chance. As everyone attacked crazily, Prime Minister Hai became more and more exhausted. He kept retreating and his face became pale. In the end, he retreated to the side of the 2 dragon pillars. With his back against the pillars, he resisted with difficulty. Although he was suppressed by everyone with the support of the energy in the Dragon Ball, he would not be defeated for a while. Therefore, the situation was in a deadlock. However, the more they fought, the more anxious they became. Because they were different from Prime Minister Hai. Prime Minister Hai had the support of the Dragon Ball and could be said to have unlimited energy. However, they were different. They were deprived by the Dragon Ball and the spiritual energy in their bodies was constantly disappearing. The longer they delayed, the weaker they became. As for the Dragon Ball, it would absorb their spiritual energy and become stronger and stronger. Therefore, this was a hopeless situation for them. Destroy the dragon pillars. We can't be lenient. Chapter 1092. This sea demon's body was as huge as a mountain, and a terrifying demonic aura spread out in all directions. It roared, and like a clap of thunder, it shook the heavens and earth. Everyone looked up in horror and found that it was a black tortoise. It was the one that had escaped after being injured by Zhao Shui. However, at this moment, the injuries on its body had already healed, and it seemed to be even stronger than before. This was really too shocking. It should be known that those injuries could not be healed in a short period of time. However, this sea demon was standing in front of everyone as good as new. Could it be because of the dragon pillar? Lin Xian frowned because he knew that this huge black tortoise came out of the dragon pillar. There must be some kind of relationship between the two. Under the command of Prime Minister Hai, the huge black tortoise clan expert roared and launched a fierce attack on everyone. However, Zhao Shui snorted coldly, and like a stream of light, she quickly rushed up. "Bastard, you're courting death." She raised her lily-white hand and sent out a series of palm shadows, blasting towards the black tortoise clan expert. However, the situation this time was beyond her expectations. The black tortoise clan expert was nourished by the energy of the dragon pearl and became extremely tyrannical. However, Zhao Shui was affected by the dragon pearl, and the spiritual power in her body was drained. Therefore, when the two fought, Zhao Shui was at a disadvantage. With the participation of the Black Tortoise Clan expert, Prime Minister Hai, who was originally at a disadvantage, recovered and launched a fierce attack. No, our physical strength can't hold on for long. Let's retreat first. Elder Song's face changed greatly because he found that there was not much spiritual power left in his body. If this continued, the unlucky ones would be them. The elders of the Divine Bird Palace also quickly nodded because their situation was also not good. Therefore, under the leadership of the elders, the disciples retreated and temporarily left the Dragon Palace. As soon as they left the Dragon Palace, the experts of the three major sects cast a defensive light curtain, then sat cross-legged on the ground and quickly recovered their spiritual power. There was no other way. They had consumed too much spiritual power and had to recuperate. Lin Xian also sat down cross-legged and quickly circulated the secret art of longevity to recover his spiritual energy. At the same time, he kept thinking about how to break this stalemate. In Dragon Palace, the strong cultivator of the Xian Turtle clan entered the Dragon Pillar again. Prime Minister Hai's face was gloomy. He quickly used the energy of the Dragon Pearl to restore one of the Dragon Pillars. Although the humans were temporarily repelled this time, he didn't dare to be careless at all because just a moment ago, those despicable humans had almost shattered one of the Dragon Pillars. If the Dragon Pillar were to shatter, then it would be troublesome. Therefore, he did not dare to be the slightest bit careless and quickly used the energy inside the Dragon Ball to repair it. Outside the Dragon Palace, everyone was recovering quickly. Zhao Shui was dressed in white and looked like a fairy. She said coldly, "When we attack again, I will do my best to stall that black tortoise. As for the rest, it's all up to you. You must break that Dragon Pillar. Don't worry, we'll do our best as well." The 7th level venerated realm expert from Marywood said in a deep voice. Elder Song and the other elders quickly nodded. They decided that this time, they must do their best to break the Dragon Pillar. This time, everyone had suffered heavy losses. Therefore, they rested for 3 days. During these 3 days, everyone was recovering here. However, Lin Xian was an exception. Of course, it would be even better if he could get the Dragon Ball. It could improve the effect quickly, and even break through to the 6th level venerable was not a dream. Thinking of this, Lin Xian's eyes were burning with a trace of passion. At this time, most of the people had recovered. The 7th level venerable from Marywood stood up and clenched the folding fan in his hand. The light in his eyes was terrifying. Zhao Shui also stood up, a deep light flashing in her beautiful eyes. At the same time, Elder Song and the other older generation figures were also ready. They were full of fighting spirit. This time, they must take down the Dragon Palace. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Countless figures set off and charged into the Dragon Palace. Dragon King Tsunami. Prime Minister Hai roared and waved his staff. A terrifying energy enveloped the Dragon Palace. A strange and frightening power enveloped everyone. However, with the experience of the previous battle, everyone had a plan to deal with it. In the next moment, they all took action to resist the energy. Muffled sounds like thunder rang out. This was the sound of energy colliding. Endless waves surged and the entire Dragon Palace trembled. Chapter 1093. Everyone worked together and attacked again. The fan in Marywood's 7th level venerate's hand quickly enlarged and fell. It was like a phoenix flapping its wings, creating a strong gale that swept downwards. This attack was very terrifying. It was as if it was not a human, but an ancient demonic bird. In the next moment, the entire Dragon Palace was filled with violent heavenly winds. The terrifying heavenly winds enveloped the entire Dragon Palace. Countless people panicked and activated their defenses to resist. Fortunately, this attack was not directed at them, so they only suffered from the aftershocks. There was no danger to their lives. This was not an ordinary attack. This was an Earth-class martial art, Heavenly Wind Rend. A powerful wind-type martial art, coupled with the 7th level venerate's half-Earth-class artifact, made this attack very powerful. It was enough to devour the heavens and split the earth. Fortunately, the Dragon Palace was very special and powerful. Otherwise, if it were any other city, it would have been torn apart. However, even so, the Crystal Dragon Palace was not spared. Especially when everyone's target was the two dragon pillars. One of them was enveloped by the heavenly winds, and cracks appeared on it again. This time, the cracks were even bigger than the previous one. It was as if the dragon pillar would crack at any moment. After using this attack, Mary Wood's 7th level Venerate heaved a sigh of relief. Although this attack consumed a lot of his energy, the effect was very obvious. Was this the strength of a 7th level Venerate? How terrifying! This attack was comparable to everyone's combined energy. Many people were shocked because the last time the Dragon Pearl cracked, it was caused by everyone working together. This time, the 7th level Venerate created the same effect by himself. It was even better. This result indeed shocked everyone to the core. Good job, Martial Uncle Zhou. Mighty Heavenly Wind rend. Mary Wood's disciples cheered. They were very happy. However, in the next moment, their eyes widened and they fell into shock again. This was because Zhao Shui also made a move. Above, there was a fluctuation of spiritual energy and a huge eye appeared. It was like the eye of the heavens. Void Sky Eye. At this moment, Zhao Shui was emitting a terrifying aura. She was like a god that could see through everything. Everyone felt his gaze and their hearts began to pound wildly. It was as if all their secrets had been exposed under the sun, and there was nowhere to hide. At the same time, the Void Sky Eye also unleashed an attack. It was as if that gaze could see through the mountains, rivers, and starry sky. Those eyes were too terrifying, as if they were looking down on all life. Suddenly, the Dragon Palace trembled violently, as if it was about to be destroyed under this gaze. Rumble! Under the attack of the Void Heaven Eye, the dragon pillar that had cracks on it completely shattered. Bang! The dragon pillar shattered, collapsing in all directions. What kind of eye technique is this? It's so terrifying. Prime Minister Hai was extremely shocked. He didn't expect a human to have such a terrifying eye technique attack. It was completely out of his imagination. The other half of the crowd was also shocked. Void Sky Eye, the legendary eye technique that disappeared. Mary Wood's 7th layer Supreme Expert couldn't help but cry out in shock. Because the power of this ocular technique already surpassed his Earth-rank martial art, Heavenly Wind Rend. Moreover, it was not just a little bit stronger. Not only that, but what was even more shocking was that this was a long-lost eye technique. In the crowd, Lin Xian was also shocked when he saw this scene. This ocular technique was too powerful, and its attack power shocked him. One had to know that even when he used the Great Dragon Sword Soul with all his strength, it was only SOSO. Of course, this didn't mean that the Great Dragon Sword Soul was weak, but Lin Xian was only a 4th layer Supreme Expert. If Lin Xian was also a 7th layer Supreme Expert, then with the power of the Great Dragon Sword Soul, it wouldn't be a problem to split the Dragon Palace apart. Ah, you dare to destroy the Dragon Pillar? You're all going to die. Prime Minister Hai went crazy. He waved his staff and quickly mobilized the energy of the Dragon Pillar, trying to restore it. However, the crowd didn't give him a chance and quickly attacked. Black Tortoise General, come out. Prime Minister Hai couldn't hold on by himself and hurriedly called for his companions. Buzz! A huge whirlpool appeared on another dragon pillar, and then a huge figure appeared. It was an expert from the Black Tortoise race. As soon as it appeared, it emitted a monstrous demonic aura that swept out in all directions. Its aura was much stronger than before. It seemed that the dragon pillar was indeed very strange. The Black Tortoise race expert had only been in there for a few days, but his strength had increased rapidly. The current him was far stronger than before. Everyone be careful. Don't fight it head-on. Elder Song quickly reminded them from behind. Although his disciples were geniuses, they were too young. With their current strength, they couldn't resist at all. They had to work together to fight it. This time, everyone split up. One team, led by Zhao Shui, fought against the Black Tortoise race expert. The other team, led by Mary Forest's 7th layer Supreme Expert, Elder Zhou, attacked the other dragon pillar. They attacked from both sides at the same time. Void Sky Eye. Zhao Shui's figure fluttered like an immortal. She instantly arrived above the black tortoise race expert. The huge illusory eye surged and released a resplendent attack. This was an ocular technique that contained a terrifying soul power. Bang! In an instant, this attack bombarded the black tortoise race expert's body and immediately tore open his hard turtle shell. Although the black tortoise race expert's strength had increased greatly, the void sky eye was too terrifying and couldn't be judged by common sense. Therefore, this attack injured the black tortoise race expert. Roar! An earth-shattering roar resounded in all directions as the black tortoise race expert went berserk. As a sea race expert, he was very powerful. This time, he had been strengthened by the dragon pillar, and his strength had increased greatly. He originally thought that this time, he could avenge his humiliation and kill the despicable human in front of him. However, he didn't expect that he would be injured again. How could he not go crazy? He waved his huge claws and pounced forward. Sika! The entire space collapsed as endless waves surged. The space in front of him was instantly emptied. Zhao Shui used her movement technique and quickly dodged this attack. At this moment, the 7th layer supreme expert in the distance also seized the opportunity to use an earth-grade technique. He ruthlessly bombarded the black tortoise race expert and sent him flying. The mountain-like body flew out from the bottom of the sea, destroying countless buildings along the way. Kill! Elder Song led the countless disciples and quickly attacked. They could only use this opportunity to attack the black tortoise race expert. Rumble! In an instant, countless attacks landed and enveloped the black tortoise race expert. Even though the black tortoise race's defense was strong, it couldn't withstand so many attacks and the attacks of 2 7th layer supreme experts. Therefore, it didn't take long for it to become thin and heavily injured. Seeing this scene in the distance, Prime Minister Hai's face was extremely gloomy. He didn't expect that even the extremely tough black tortoise race expert couldn't stop these despicable humans. Damn it, all of you deserve to die. Chapter 1094. At that moment, the situation in the Dragon Palace was very chaotic. The Xian Turtle Tribe powerhouses were being beaten back, and Hai Xiong was also getting weaker and weaker. In any case, the situation was very unfavorable for the sea demons. Damn it, all of you must die. Hai Xiong looked at the people around him with a ferocious expression. Dragon King Tsunami. In the next moment, he waved the staff in his hand with all his might and communicated with the dragon ball above him. A blue light surged out and swept out in all directions. Everyone who was enveloped by this light felt their bodies tremble as the spiritual power in their bodies quickly disappeared. However, this was not the first time they had seen this move, so they all had a plan to deal with it. In an instant, they all took various measures to resist with all their might. Among them, the Merry Forest's 7th level supremacy, Zhao Shui, and Elder Song were able to quickly control it, while the other disciples resisted with all their might. As for the Xian Turtle Tribe powerhouse, because he was a sea demon, he was not affected much. However, there was another person who was not affected at all, and that was Lin Xian. When the other party used the Dragon King Tsunami, he had already mobilized the great dragon sword soul in his body and quickly cut off all connections around him. In other words, the other party's move did not affect him at all. However, Lin Xian looked ahead and frowned slightly. This was because he knew that the Dragon King Tsunami would not have much of an effect. At most, it would only delay the attacks of the crowd. Given the other party's insight and experience, he should have known. However, the other party still spared no effort to use this move, which was really unbelievable. Up until now, Lin Xian had been among the many disciples fighting against the Xian Turtle Tribe powerhouse. Speaking of which, he had not been in the limelight, so many people had forgotten about his existence. This was because there were too many powerhouses present. Regardless of whether it was the 7th level heavenly supremacy or Zhao Shui, they were all extremely powerful and eye-catching existences. As for Lin Xian, he seemed to be just a small disciple who could not do anything in such a grand situation. Of course, this was the situation in the eyes of outsiders. In fact, Lin Xian had used the 1,000 Beast Cauldron to control a sea demon and obtain the situation of the Dragon Palace. This dragon pearl was actually a demon core left behind by a watch-grade flood dragon. It could be said that it contained the essence of a king. However, the Jiao Dragon King had cultivated an evil technique when he was alive, so his demon core also contained an evil aura. Not only that, Lin Xian also knew that the Flood Dragon King had a treasure when he was alive, the Water Spirit Pearl. He had absorbed quite a bit of the Water Spirit Pearl, and the rest was sealed in a palace with a powerful seal. He had learned all of this from a sea demon. Lin Xian was still digesting the information when a commotion broke out in front of him. That was because after Prime Minister Hai used the Dragon King tsunami, he did not attack again. Instead, he turned into a ray of light and fled. This was because he could see that with his strength and cultivation, even if he had the Dragon Ball, he could only fight to a draw with everyone for the time being. It was simply impossible for them to win. Moreover, he was afraid that he would be in danger if he dragged this out any longer, so he fled. Because in his opinion, even if he left, Lin Xian and the others would not be able to fight against the Dragon Balls. You want to leave? Not so easy. The seventh heaven supremacy from Mary Woods roared and sent out a tornado. Zhao Shui also controlled the Void Sky Eye to lock onto Prime Minister Hai. Bang! Their attacks landed on Prime Minister Hai's body and sent him flying. Chapter 1095. Kid, hand over the staff if you know what's good for you. Yes, this is not something you can have. The people of Divine Bird Palace stared at Lin Xian with unfriendly expressions. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Suddenly, the little white monkey in front of him waved the staff and communicated with the Dragon Ball above. It formed a blue light that enveloped the people of Divine Bird Palace. In an instant, the disciples of Divine Bird Palace were all enveloped by the light. The next moment, the spiritual energy in their bodies was drained again. Seeing this, the people of Divine Bird Palace trembled and quickly shut up, not daring to speak again. Because they did not expect that the little white monkey not only obtained the staff, but also could control the Dragon Ball. This was too strange. The others were also shocked. This scene was completely beyond their imagination. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled into a smile as he strode forward. The dark red dragon god also howled excitedly and followed beside him. He quickly came to the little white monkey's side and said excitedly, "Little one, quickly cast a spell on these two dragon pillars and turn them into a spirit spring." The dark red dragon god was a wily old fox, so he saw the key to the problem at a glance. To be able to receive the Dragon Ball, these two dragon pillars were definitely not simple. Moreover, the powerhouse of the Shen Turtle clan was inside these dragon pillars. In the end, not only did he recover from his injuries, but his strength also increased greatly. Therefore, this meant that these two dragon pillars were definitely not simple. The little white monkey nodded happily. Then he waved the staff in his hand and cast a spell on the two dragon pillars. Soon, the two dragon pillars melted and turned into a spirit spring. A very rich spiritual energy condensed and emitted from the bottom of the sea. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and then took a step forward and entered the spirit spring. As soon as he entered, he could not help but snort softly. All the pores on his body opened up and greedily absorbed the spiritual energy inside. The dark red divine dragon's guess was right. The spirit spring formed by the two dragon pillars contained pure energy. At this moment, Lin Xian chose to absorb it into his body, forming a warm current that washed over his body. The dark red dragon god also howled and swam around in the spirit spring. Such rich spiritual energy. Seeing this, the disciples of Divine Bird Palace finally could not help but exclaim. They rushed forward and dived into the spirit spring. However, what followed was a series of screams. The disciples who jumped into the spirit spring were enveloped by an evil force. They were instantly turned into blood water and evaporated. Seeing this scene, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, and their expressions became very frightened. They had never expected such an outcome. Evil Chi, it's the evil Chi inside the Dragon Balls. An elder from Mary Woods shook his head. Although the spirit spring is good, it contains a large amount of evil Chi. If one's cultivation is not enough and forcefully absorbs it, I'm afraid one will instantly turn into a pool of blood. Hearing this explanation, everyone's face changed. Looking at the spirit spring in front of them, their eyes were filled with endless envy and disappointment. Although the spirit spring was good, it seemed that they couldn't enjoy it at all. However, the people of the Divine Bird Palace didn't believe it. One by one they shouted, "Impossible!" That's right. If there was evil chi, how could that kid be fine? Conspiracy, this must be his conspiracy. Yes, let's drag that brat out and avenge our disciple. An elder of the Divine Bird Palace also roared angrily. However, the elder of Merry Woods shook his head. This is not a conspiracy. Warriors below the seventh sky of Venerable Realm can't enter at all. That young man can enter because of that staff. What? Hearing this, everyone was stunned. They all stared at the little white monkey, or to be exact, the staff in his hand. Especially the people of the Divine Bird Palace. They all stared ahead with greedy eyes. That staff was too important. Just getting the staff was equivalent to getting the spirit spring. With the spirit spring, their cultivation would be able to increase. Kid, hurry up and hand over the staff. The elder of the Divine Bird Palace sneered and stretched out a palm of light to grab the little white monkey. He was very arrogant. This palm completely covered the entire spirit spring, including Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian didn't move. It was as if he didn't see it. The little white monkey waved the staff in his hand angrily. Suddenly, the dragon ball above shot out a blue light. Like lightning, it instantly tore the palm of light apart and penetrated the elder of the Divine Bird Palace. Seeing this scene, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Because the power of the dragon ball was too powerful. The elder of the Divine Bird Palace was a sixth sky of Venerable Realm expert, but he was penetrated in an instant. This was too terrifying. The people of the Divine Bird Palace were so scared that their faces turned green. They quickly retreated and didn't dare to go forward. Although they were very envious and greedy, no one dared to risk their lives at this moment. The others were also shocked. Everyone looked at the little white monkey with a look of fear. Zhao Shui was expressionless. She quickly walked up. The seventh sky of Merry Woods pondered for a moment and also walked up. To be honest, the appearance of Lin Xian surprised him. He only regarded Zhao Shui as a strong opponent and didn't care about others at all. However, he didn't expect that a young man with a fourth sky of Venerable Realm cultivation could shock everyone. "Young Master Lin, what do you plan to do with the Dragon Ball?" Zhao Shui asked. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. They didn't expect that the powerful Zhao Shui would ask Lin Xian. The seventh sky of Venerable Realm didn't say anything. He glanced at Zhao Shui and then looked at Lin Xian again. It could be said that the two people in front of him were the ones he feared the most. Zhao Shui was powerful and had the virtual sky eyes. She was so powerful that even he didn't dare to be careless. As for the young man in the spirit spring, although he didn't care about his own strength, he now had the magic staff. It could be said that he could indirectly control the Dragon Ball. Unless it was a last resort, he didn't want to be enemies with him. Because he had seen the power of the Dragon Ball. It was an existence that gave people a headache. The surrounding people were even more shocked because Zhao Shui was a seventh sky of Venerable Realm expert. She also had an ancient eye technique that was lost. It could be said that she was very powerful. Even the seventh sky of Merry Woods wouldn't dare to say that he would win. It could be said that no one present could truly defeat Zhao Shui. However, such a powerful person was now asking Lin Xian. This was simply too shocking and unexpected. At this moment, Lin Xian in the spirit spring opened his eyes. He glanced around and then said in a deep voice, "This spirit spring belongs to me. This spirit spring is mine. It will be of great use to my cultivation." Hearing this, everyone was shocked, especially those from the Divine Bird Palace. Their faces were full of surprise. They didn't expect Lin Xian to be so greedy and directly swallow the entire spirit spring. However, even if they were dissatisfied, they didn't dare to say anything. Their elder was killed on the spot. That scene immediately stunned them. Chapter 1096. He dares to demand an exorbitant price in front of two 7th-level venerables. This guy is definitely dead. That's right, he wants to take it all for himself? He doesn't even know who he is. Even if we agree, I'm afraid the two 7th-level venerables won't agree. The people of Divine Bird Palace sneered, ready to see Lin Xian make a fool of himself. However, in the next moment, they were stunned, and their faces became extremely ugly. Because Zhao Shui nodded quickly without thinking, "Okay, I won't fight with you for the spiritual spring." Seeing Zhao Shui nod, the 7th-level venerables next to her also nodded. The spiritual spring was good, and it was useful to them, but compared to the Dragon Ball, it was not worth mentioning. Therefore, their goal was the Dragon Ball, and they gave up on the spiritual spring. Seeing Zhao Shui and the 7th-level venerables of Merry Woods give up on the spiritual spring, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Because they never thought that the two 7th-level venerables would give up on the treasure in front of them so decisively. Lin Xian smiled in satisfaction. At the same time, he heaved a sigh of relief. He made the right bet. In front of the Dragon Ball, the spiritual spring was nothing. This was not to say that the spiritual spring was not good, but compared to the Dragon Ball, the spiritual spring was not as good. However, the spiritual spring was very important to Lin Xian, because it could greatly improve Lin Xian's cultivation in a short period of time. Lin Xian smiled, then said, "As for the Dragon Ball above, I won't take it." Hearing Lin Xian's words, Zhao Shui and the 7th-level venerables of Merry Woods were obviously relieved. The surrounding people were also stunned. They did not expect Lin Xian to give up on the Dragon Ball so decisively. In fact, Lin Xian had his own considerations. Because the Dark Red Dragon had clearly said that there was still some evil chi in the Dragon Ball, so he would not take it. This evil-killing aura would not only affect the Dark Red Divine Dragon, but Lin Xian felt that it might also affect him. Therefore, for the sake of his future martial arts development, Lin Xian decided to give up. Moreover, these dragons were too demonic and too eye-catching. They were definitely not something the spirit spring beneath his feet could compare to. This was a true king artifact, something left behind by a king artifact. There was no one present who did not want to obtain it. Even a 7th-layer venerated realm expert would go crazy after seeing it. With his current strength, he was only a 4th-layer heavenly venerate. Compared to a 7th-layer heavenly venerate, he was indeed much weaker. Even if he could use the staff to snatch the Dragon Ball, it was still extremely dangerous for him because once he left the Dragon Palace, he would be hunted down by countless venerables. He didn't want to put himself in such a dangerous situation. Therefore, he didn't want these Dragon Balls. Another point was that Lin Xian found that the energy inside was too high level. With his current cultivation, he couldn't absorb it at all. Even if he obtained it, it would be useless to him. It was not as practical as the Spirit Spring. Based on the above 3 points, Lin Xian decisively gave up the Hot Dragon Ball and chose the Spirit Spring. Moreover, Lin Xian also understood that the Dragon Ball was very difficult to obtain. Even if he had the staff, it would not be easy to obtain the Dragon Ball. Therefore, he threw this hot potato out. However, he would not give it away for nothing. Hearing Lin Xian's decision, the young disciples were in an uproar. They did not expect Lin Xian to give up such a good opportunity. However, the older generation was silent, especially Elder Song and the others. They looked at Lin Xian and kept nodding, because if they were to choose, they would also give up the Dragon Ball. He's so young, but he knows how to prioritize and how to give up. This young man is amazing. Yeah, with his talent, if he grows up, his future will be limitless. The few elders of the Immortal Martial Academy nodded. At this moment, Lin Xian spoke again. Of course, I don't want the Dragon Ball, but it doesn't mean that you can obtain it. With your strength, you should be able to see that this Dragon Ball is something left behind by a king. It would be very difficult to completely subdue it. However, I can use the staff in my hand to help you. In this Dragon Palace, there is a water spirit pearl. Whoever can help me find it and hand it to me, I will use the staff to obtain the Dragon Ball. Lin Xian stated his final condition. When these words came out, everyone was shocked. They didn't expect Lin Xian to still dare to negotiate. Water spirit pearl? What is that? Could it be that there are other treasures in the Dragon Palace? Should be, it doesn't seem to be inferior to the Spirit Spring. Damn it, how did he know about the Water Spirit Pearl? This brat is too greedy. Not only did he obtain the spirit spring, he also wants other treasures. Damn it. This is the dissatisfaction of the people of the Divine Bird Palace. Another elder of the Divine Bird Palace sneered, "Just watch, he's dead meat." He actually dares to negotiate with a 7th level venerable. He really doesn't know how to write the word death. Everyone was discussing animatedly. They all felt that Lin Xian was too daring and too greedy. At the same time, they were very curious about the water spirit pearl that Lin Xian mentioned. Especially the people of the Divine Bird Palace, their eyes were once again burning with the flames of greed. Damn it, we must find out the whereabouts of the water spirit pearl. Don't be anxious, wait for an opportunity to make a move. I don't believe that this brat won't tell us. A group of people discussed in low voices, all of them having designs on the water spirit pearl. Actually, this was very normal. The most precious treasure in this place was the Dragon Ball. However, with Zhao Shui and the 7th level venerable, they had no chance at all. Next would be Lin Xian's spirit spring. However, they didn't dare to seize it because the little white monkey was controlling the staff. Therefore, this mysterious water spirit pearl became everyone's target. Zhao Shui pondered for a moment, then nodded, "Okay, it's a deal." She seemed determined to get the Dragon Ball. The 7th level venerable of the Merry Woods had a gloomy face, his heart filled with dissatisfaction. Lin Xian monopolizing the spirit spring had already made him dissatisfied, but he didn't expect that Lin Xian would dare to negotiate with him. How daring! Because the effect of the spirit spring was very rich, even he was a little tempted. Now, it was completely monopolized by Lin Xian. This wasn't enough. The other party even wanted to use the water spirit pearl to exchange for the Dragon Ball. This was too much. The disciples of the Merry Woods also had gloomy faces. They stared at Lin Xian with an unkind expression. At this time, the people of the Divine Bird Palace couldn't bear it anymore. Several of the older generation jumped out and said coldly, "Brat, how dare you negotiate with us? I think you're tired of living." That's right, you still want other treasures? Do you really think that no one can stop you? Who do you think you are? You still want to help us seize the spirit pearl. We want to seize the spirit pearl, and we don't need your help. A group of elders of the Divine Bird Palace looked angry and disdainful. Oh, you don't need my help? That's good, the Dragon Ball is there. If you want to go, go, I won't stop you. Chapter 1097. You won't stop it? Are you telling the truth? Hearing this, the elders of the Divine Bird Palace were excited. Of course, this Dragon Ball is an ownerless item. Whoever wants to take it can do so. I won't interfere. At least you know what's good for you. The elders of the Divine Bird Palace snorted and quickly walked forward, rubbing their fists and preparing to take the Dragon Ball. They couldn't wait any longer. Originally, they were a little afraid of the little white monkey and the staff in his hand because he could control the Dragon Ball. But now, he said he wouldn't interfere with them, which made them very happy. I'll do it. An elder of the Divine Bird Palace stood out. This old man's hair was gray and his cultivation had reached the 6th heaven of the Venerable Realm. He looked at the Dragon Ball in front of him and his heart throbbed. Finally, he made a move. The disciples of the Divine Bird Palace cheered. It's great that the 7th elder is making a move. Yeah, the 7th elder is a Venerable Realm expert. He can definitely take the Dragon Ball. When the 7th elder gets the Dragon Ball, I want to see that kid's expression. I'm afraid he'll cry his eyes out. Such a good treasure disappearing in front of his eyes. Anyone would feel bad. He deserves it. I can't wait to see his expression. The disciples of the Divine Bird Palace sneered. The people of the Celestial Martial Academy and Merry Woods were also whispering. Isn't Lin Xian a little too arrogant? The Dragon Ball is an ownerless item. Without control, no matter how strong it is, I'm afraid it can't exert much power. Not necessarily. After all, it's something left behind by a king. Who knows what will happen? Yeah, let's wait and see. Lin Xian's lips curled into a cold smile when he heard the crowd's discussion. He wanted to see who would be the one crying later. The 7th elder of the Divine Bird Palace stepped out and a powerful spiritual energy erupted from his body. Behind him, the shadow of a three-headed bird appeared. Then, the shadow let out a cry that resounded through the 9 heavens. Moreover, the 7th elder stretched out his palm and formed a giant purple claw in the air, grabbing at the Dragon Ball. The giant purple claw was completely formed by lightning. It was extremely terrifying, and cracks even appeared on the empty palace. Soon, the giant claw enveloped the Dragon Ball. Seeing this scene, everyone's hearts were in their throats. Most of the people from Divine Bird Palace stared at the little white monkey to prevent it from making a move. The snow-white little monkey mumbled a few times and cast a disdainful look at him. It hugged the magic staff to its chest and remained motionless. Seeing that the little white monkey didn't attack, the people of Divine Bird Palace were obviously relieved. The 7th elder also secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Then he once again released a surge of energy, causing the giant purple claw above to shine even brighter. The next moment, he grabbed the Dragon Ball. Well, got him. This scene stunned the surrounding people. They didn't expect the Dragon Balls to be caught so easily. Even Mary Wood's 7th level Venerable and Zhao Shui frowned. The people of the Divine Bird Palace laughed crazily. I finally got the Dragon Balls. Great! This is something left behind by a king. It will be of great help to us. Yes, the heavens are really helping our Divine Bird technique. We will definitely develop it and maybe become a king clan. The people of Divine Bird Palace were full of expectations and were very arrogant. The 7th elder was also excited. He didn't expect to catch the Dragon Balls so easily. He shook his arm and wanted to take the Dragon Balls back. But the next moment, the joy on his face disappeared and was replaced by a touch of fear. The 7th elder let out a scream. His expression was very frightened, as if he had encountered something terrible. What happened? Hearing this scream, everyone was shocked and looked over. They saw that the giant claw formed by lightning in the sky was quickly shrinking and then disappearing. As for the 7th elder's arm, it quickly shriveled and turned into a pile of white bones. Moreover, the corrosion continued and soon, white bones appeared on his shoulder. No! The 7th elder retreated in horror, but he still couldn't change the situation. Finally, he gritted his teeth and a touch of determination appeared in his eyes. He quickly cut off his entire arm. His body didn't continue to corrode until his arm fell to the ground. After doing all this, the 7th elder of Divine Bird Palace gasped for breath with a face full of fear. He was so close to becoming a pile of bones. Thinking of this, fear rose in his heart. At the same time, his face became ferocious because without his right arm, his combat strength would be greatly reduced. The disciples of Divine Bird Palace were stunned and their expressions were full of panic. Impossible! This is absolutely impossible. How could the 7th elder be injured? Yes, that's a level 6 powerhouse. How could he be injured? No, I don't believe it. This must be a dream. The disciples of Divine Bird Palace went crazy and couldn't believe it. Meanwhile, the surrounding people started to discuss among themselves. It seems that the Dragon Balls are not so easy to get. Even a level 6 Venerable couldn't get it and was almost killed. This Dragon Balls is really terrifying. As expected of something left behind by a king. It's really extraordinary. Although no one is controlling it, its instinctive counterattack is not something a level 6 Venerable can resist. Yes, I guess only a level 7 Venerable would have a chance. The disciples of Mary Woods discussed in a low voice. The disciples of Immortal Martial Academy sneered. They didn't have a good impression of Divine Bird Palace Geo and both sides almost got into a conflict. So when they saw this scene, they were naturally happy. Don't talk big if you don't have the strength. What did you say about getting the Dragon Balls as easy as flipping your hand? In the end, you got slapped in the face. Not only did you not get slapped in the face, you even lost an arm and almost lost your life. This is really embarrassing. They deserved it. Junior Brother Lin had already warned them, but they didn't listen. They even thought that Junior Brother Lin was harboring evil intentions. Now they know it's too late. That's right. Junior Brother Lin obviously wanted to help them get the Dragon Balls, but they didn't believe him. If you have the ability, Don't let junior brother Lin help you for the rest of your life. The disciples of Immortal Martial Academy mocked and ridiculed. Elder Song and the rest also fell silent. After all, Lin Xian was a genius of their academy. So in their hearts, they were still biased towards Lin Xian. Hearing these discussions, the other cultivators also fell silent. They looked at Lin Xian with uncertain expressions. Before this, they thought that Lin Xian was too greedy and wanted to take all the treasures for himself. But now, it seemed that Lin Xian really did have the qualifications because the Dragon Balls were too terrifying. It wasn't something an ordinary person could obtain. Even a level 7 venerable wouldn't have full confidence in obtaining it. Chapter 1098. Now, the way everyone looked at Lin Xian had changed. No one felt that he was asking for too much, because he was indeed the key to obtaining the Dragon Ball. Zhao Shui was expressionless, because she had already agreed to Lin Xian's conditions. The 7th level venerable from the Merry Woods sucked in a breath of cold air. Previously, he was still dissatisfied, thinking that Lin Xian was too much and did not put him in his eyes at all. Unfortunately, his view had changed. Lin Xian was too important, and without Lin Xian, he would not be able to obtain the Dragon Ball. Fortunately, although he was dissatisfied, he did not directly express it to Lin Xian, or else things would be difficult now. Without any hesitation, the 7th level venerable quickly nodded. Okay, I agree to your conditions. Hearing this, Lin Xian raised a satisfied smile, because he had already guessed this result. The Dragon Ball's terror was beyond everyone's imagination. Those people from the Divine Bird Palace overestimated themselves, wanting to obtain it alone, and almost losing an elder. All of this was within his expectations. The two 7th level venerables agreed to Lin Xian's conditions, and began to lead people to search for the legendary water spirit pearl. Lin Xian sat cross-legged in the spirit spring, and quickly absorbed the energy inside, cleansing and improving his body, and increasing his cultivation. Not only that, he also took out the pills that he had refined before and began to consume them. Now, he could see that this remote sky secret realm was definitely a treasure trove, and there were treasures everywhere, but one needed to be strong enough to obtain them. Therefore, as long as there was a chance, Lin Xian would not hesitate to increase his strength. More and more people began to search, and in the end, even the people from the Immortal Martial Academy left. Because this Dragon Palace did not only have the Dragon Ball, there were many other treasures in the other palaces, and these treasures were also very tempting. Seeing that the people from the Immortal Martial Academy and Merry Woods had left, the people from the Divine Bird Palace hid in the dark and quickly discussed. Elder, now that those people have left, should we take action and capture this brat? As long as we control this kid and make him activate the staff to help us seize the Dragon Balls, we might have a good chance. Hearing this, the elders of Divine Bird Palace pondered. Although Lin Xian could now control the Dragon Balls, after all, they had more people. If they went all out, they might be able to take down this kid. As for Lin Xian, who was far away in the spirit spring, he sneered. Through his powerful soul force, he already knew what these people were talking about. Indeed, I can only control a portion of the Dragon Orb's power. I can't unleash its full power. However, killing a few 6th Heaven Venerables is still a piece of cake. It sounded like he was talking to himself, but it sounded more like a warning. In the distance, the elders of the Divine Bird Palace trembled when they heard this. The disciples of the Divine Bird Palace were also shocked, as if they had seen a ghost. They didn't think that even though they were so far away, the other party could still hear their conversation. It was really terrifying. Forget it, this kid is too strange. Let's ignore him for now and look for other treasures. This Dragon Palace was left behind by a king. There are many treasures inside. We must get the other treasures. One of the elders said coldly. Then, the other elders nodded in agreement and quickly left with the people of the Divine Bird Palace. Seeing that those people had left, Lin Xian snorted coldly. He raised his hand and set up a formation that covered the entire spirit spring. Then he slowly closed his eyes and fell into cultivation. As he continued to absorb the spiritual power in the spirit spring, his cultivation increased rapidly. Half a day later, His cultivation had reached the peak of the fourth heaven venerable realm. At this moment, the spiritual power in the spirit spring was only half consumed. There was still more than half left. Moreover, he still had a lot of elixirs in his hand. If he went all out, he should be able to break through to the fifth heaven venerable realm. Let's give it a try. Lin Xian made up his mind and began to break through to the fifth heaven venerable realm. Just as Lin Xian was breaking through to the next realm, the seventh heaven venerables of the Merry Woods, Zhao Shui, and the others were also quickly searching. However, there were many buildings in the Dragon Palace. Although some were destroyed in the battle, there were still many buildings standing here. Therefore, it was not easy to find a small water spirit pearl. Therefore, other than the seventh heaven venerables of the Merry Woods and Zhao Shui who were searching for the water spirit pearl, the other warriors were frantically collecting other treasures. However, although Lin Xian was in seclusion to break through, the little white monkey was not idle. He took out the small bowl of the leader again and began to collect other treasures. Because he was very secretive and there were too many buildings around, no one noticed him at all. The little white monkey did not take action. Once he took action, he took out some precious items. Just one item was comparable to 7 or 8 items in the hands of the other warriors. Therefore, Lin Xian did not suffer a loss at all. In fact, he made a big profit. Soon a day had passed. With the spirit spring and elixirs, Lin Xian successfully broke through to the fifth heaven venerable realm. He felt the spiritual power in his body increase. Lin Xian was delighted. I finally broke through. After reaching the fifth heaven venerable realm, he could be considered a small expert. Moreover, not only did his cultivation increase, reaching the fifth heaven venerable realm had also improved his great dragon sword soul. In the past, he could not compete with a sixth heaven venerable realm expert. However, there was no problem now. The improvement of the great dragon sword soul had increased his combat strength by several times. However, this was not the end. He planned to improve the great dragon sword soul. This was because his martial soul was different from others. Others' martial souls were condensed by themselves and then slowly improved through exploration. However, Lin Xian was different. His sword soul was the strongest sword soul in the world. It had existed for a long time. However, it entered his body in the end and became his sword soul. Lin Xian did not need to improve the sword soul at all. All he needed to do was activate and revive the great dragon sword soul. This process was much easier than perfecting the martial soul. Therefore, Lin Xian planned to take the purple spirit pill and enter an ethereal state to activate and upgrade the great dragon sword soul. If he could upgrade the great dragon sword soul to the sixth heaven venerable realm, his strength would increase greatly. At that time, it would not be impossible for him to fight against a seventh heaven venerable. Thinking of this, Lin Xian felt a burst of excitement. Therefore, the great dragon sword soul was the foundation of his combat strength. The improvement of the great dragon sword soul was very important to him. After instructing the snow white monkey and the dark red dragon, Lin Xian took out a purple spirit pill and swallowed it. He began to improve the great dragon sword soul. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days passed. During this period, Lin Xian swallowed a few more purple spirit pills. He poured all the energy in the spirit spring into the great dragon sword soul in an attempt to activate and upgrade it. With the support of all this energy, his sword soul finally recovered a little. Chapter 1099. The warriors nearby were shocked because the sound made the blood in their bodies churn. Some of the weaker disciples even fell to the ground from the shock. What's going on? What a terrifying aura. What did that kid do? Why is he emitting such a terrifying aura? Many people looked ahead in horror. Lin Xian stood up from the spiritual spring. At this moment, his figure was tall and straight, and his black hair fluttered in the wind. He was like a peerless divine sword that was unstoppable. Around him, there were terrifying sword chi surrounding him, making him look like a celestial being. Is this the power of the great dragon sword soul? It's so terrifying. Lin Xian felt the surging aura of the great dragon sword soul in his body and felt a burst of excitement. Now, he could kill a level 4 supremacy with a casual attack. Not only that, he was now completely capable of fighting against a level 6 supremacy. If he used the Great Dragon Sword Soul and went all out, he could even fight against a level 7 supremacy. Moreover, what made him happy was that the improvement of the Great Dragon Sword Soul was not only reflected in its combat strength. His soul had also been nourished. Now, his soul had broken through the shackles of a level 6 alchemist and reached the level of a level 7 alchemist. Therefore, Lin Xian had now become a true level 7 alchemist. One had to know that he was not even 20 years old. Becoming a level 7 alchemist at this age was unprecedented. This was because a peerless genius like Shen Tianyu had only become a level 7 alchemist when he was around 30 years old. However, Lin Xian had shortened the process by a full 10 years. If this news were to spread, it would probably scare everyone to death. The power of the Great Dragon Sword Soul was beyond everyone's expectations. When the crowd faced Lin Xian, they felt as if they were facing a level 7 supremacy. This feeling was so strange that it shocked the surrounding warriors. In fact, this was very normal. The Great Dragon Sword Soul was an offensive sword soul between heaven and earth. Its power was definitely not something these people could imagine. Moreover, as Lin Xian's cultivation increased, the recovery of the Great Dragon Sword Soul also increased rapidly. Its power increased exponentially with each recovery. Therefore, the further he progressed, the stronger Lin Xian's combat strength became. Lin Xian took a deep breath and retracted all the sword qi in his body. Then he stepped out of the spirit spring. At this moment, most of the energy in the spirit spring had been given to the Great Dragon Sword Soul, and there was only a little left. However, the dark red divine dragon did not let it go and directly sucked it all in. After doing all this, he patted his belly in satisfaction. Lin Xian walked slowly as he scanned his surroundings. All the cultivators who were swept by this gaze lowered their heads, not daring to meet it. The little snow-white monkey jumped onto Lin Xian's shoulder and chirped happily. Seeing this, Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat and he looked at the small bowl on its head. Then, his lips curled into a smile. The small bowl on the snow-white monkey's head was said to have a certain connection with the legendary treasure bowl. Not only could this small bowl absorb treasures, but it was also a spatial storage Dharma treasure. All the treasures that the little snow-white monkey had obtained were now inside. The little snow-white monkey took the small bowl and hugged it in its arms. Then, its furry paws reached into it and groped around. Under Lin Xian's surprised gaze, the little snow-white monkey took out a tattered talisman paper. This talisman paper was only the size of a palm and was dark green all over. At first glance, it looked shabby, but upon closer inspection, one would realize that there were strange patterns engraved on it. They looked like Tao patterns and were extremely mysterious. No. The little snow-white monkey took the tattered dark green talisman paper and handed it to Lin Xian. When the surrounding people saw this, the corners of their mouths twitched slightly. Even a first heaven supremacy would not want such a tattered thing. This little snow-white monkey is really stingy. Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat because he knew that the little snow-white fox would not give him something for no reason. Moreover, something that could be snatched by the little bowl was definitely not an ordinary item. Therefore, he quickly took the dark green talisman paper and looked at it carefully. In the next moment, his body trembled and he was ecstatic. Soul-nurturing talisman. He did not expect that this tattered and ugly thing to be the famous soul-nurturing talisman from ancient times. This soul-nurturing talisman was very special. It was said that when a martial artist wore it, it could increase his soul power. It could be said that it had endless uses. This thing was perfect for Lin Xian. This was because the increase in soul power was not only beneficial for alchemy, but also for the Great Dragon Sword Soul. One had to know that the increase in Great Dragon Sword Soul could increase Lin Xian's soul power, and the increase in soul power could also increase the recovery of the Great Dragon Sword Soul. It could be said that the two complemented each other. After carefully wearing the soul-nurturing talisman on his body, Lin Xian rubbed the little snow-white monkey's head. Well done. Next time, I'll give you more than half of the spirit fruits I get. No. The little snow-white monkey nodded in satisfaction. Its black gem-like eyes narrowed into crescents. Moreover, the dark red dragon walked over and said in a low voice, "Boy, I have to say that your luck is really good. Even in ancient times, this soul-nurturing talisman was an extremely precious item." The dark red dragon was right about this. Lin Xian found that the further a martial artist went, the more they cultivated. The original body changed to the soul. It could be said that the further a martial artist went on, the more important soul power was. In the end, no matter what the physical body was like, as long as the soul was not destroyed, they could be reborn. They could even be immortal. From this, it could be seen how important a martial artist's soul was. However, there was no particularly good method to cultivate soul power. Other than a few geniuses who were born with powerful soul power, it was very difficult for others to obtain a method to cultivate soul power. They could only slowly increase their soul power as their cultivation increased. Even in ancient times, soul power cultivation methods were extremely rare and only in the hands of a few sections. For example, the ancient soul sect had a kind of soul power cultivation method. The tattered talisman in Lin Xian's hand was probably made by the ancient soul sect. Lin Xian's soul power was originally very strong. Now that he had the soul-nurturing talisman, his soul power would definitely grow rapidly. Damn, you're not giving him anything. What about me? The dark red dragon also started playing with the little snow-white monkey's things. Wooji wooji, the little snow-white monkey rolled its eyes at him and then put the little bowl on its head. Damn, little guy, don't be so stingy, okay? You have to be magnanimous. The dark red dragon grinned mischievously as it wrapped itself around the monkey. At this moment, a hurried sound of something breaking through the air came from afar. Following that, a ray of light like white lightning came from afar and arrived in front of Lin Xian. Her white clothes were whiter than snow, and her beauty was peerless. This person was Zhao Shui. Chapter 1100. In Lin Xian's memory, Zhao Shui always gave off a charming feeling. She was never as cold as she was now. Lin Xian sighed in his heart. He could not solve this problem now. He could only wait until he had the ability to defeat her before he could unravel her secret. For now, it was better for him to keep these things in his heart. At this moment, Zhao Shui did not know what Lin Xian was thinking. She stopped and hurriedly said to Lin Xian, "Young Master Lin, I've found the water spiritual pearl that you wanted." Found it? Hearing this, Lin Xian raised his eyebrows and a joyful expression appeared on his face. According to the information he received, this water spiritual pearl was not inferior to the Lin Quan from before. Therefore, it was also a rare treasure for him. Zhao Shui nodded slightly. Then, she flipped her palm and a blue pearl about the size of a fist appeared in her hand. Lin Xian took a deep breath and took the blue pearl. Then, he examined it carefully. That's right. It's really the water spiritual pearl. He felt a surge of energy in it. This energy was very pure, unlike the energy in the Dragon Ball, which had a trace of evil qi. The water spiritual pearl laid in Lin Xian's hand and emitted a gentle light. Every time it flashed, a terrifying energy wave would spread out in all directions. When the surrounding ancient martial art practitioners felt the energy wave, they were all shocked and looked forward with burning eyes. However, they could only look on enviously. No one dared to make a move. Not to mention Zhao Shui, who was a terrifying 7th-level honorable. Just the aura that Lin Xian exuded earlier was not something they could resist. Therefore, they could only look on helplessly. They were going crazy. On the other hand, Lin Xian was overjoyed. He did not expect Zhao Shui to find the water spiritual pearl so quickly. However, thinking about it, it made sense. Zhao Shui was the same as him, a cultivator with extremely powerful soul power. Furthermore, she had the eyes of void, a long-lost eye technique. Presumably, she had a special method to quickly find the water spirit pearl. What made Lin Xian even happier was that the water spirit pearl contained pure water element. Although he didn't have the water attribute, he had the ice attribute. The ice attribute was also a mutation of the water attribute. It could be said that the two were of the same origin. Therefore, not only could the water spirit pearl increase his cultivation, it could even increase the power of the ice lotus martial soul. After putting away the water spirit pearl, Lin Xian looked at Zhao Shui and said in a deep voice, "Since you've found the water spirit pearl, then according to our agreement, I'll do my best to help you seize the Dragon Ball above." Hearing Lin Xian's words, a smile finally appeared on Zhao Shui's expressionless face. Seeing this smile, Lin Xian had a very familiar feeling. However, this smile was very short and disappeared in an instant. The two of them turned around and walked forward. At this moment, the two dragon pillars had already disappeared. However, the Dragon Ball was still floating in midair. The Dragon Ball was slightly bigger than the water spirit pearl in Lin Xian's hand. Furthermore, the energy it contained was even more terrifying. The remnant energy that was emitted turned into dragons that swam around the surface of the Dragon Ball, adding a bit of mystery to it. Lin Xian was not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he said in a deep voice, "There are a few things that I want to make clear to you before making a move." Hearing this, Zhao Shui nodded slightly and said, "Go ahead." First of all, although Little White can control the staff, it doesn't mean that it can control the Dragon Ball 100%. I hope you understand this point. "Don't worry, I know," Zhao Shui said. She knew very well that the Dragon Ball was something left behind by a king. It was impossible to completely subdue it with a staff. Very good. The second point is that although the Dragon Ball has powerful energy, it also contains some evil aura. This aura can even affect a person's mind. I hope you can consider this point carefully, Lin Xian said in a deep voice. This was also the reason why he and the Dark Red Divine Dragon gave up on the Dragon Ball. At this moment, Lin Xian told Zhao Shui the truth. Because regardless of whether Zhao Shui had lost her memory or not, Lin Xian was still his friend. Therefore, Lin Xian could not hide anything from her. Hearing this, the surrounding people were shocked. They knew that there was a strange energy in the Dragon Ball, but they did not expect it to be such a terrifying evil aura. This aura was extremely terrifying. Ordinary supremacies would not dare to touch it at all. Perhaps even a 7th-level supremacies would have to be careful. Just as everyone was still in shock, another figure arrived in the vicinity like a bolt of lightning. This figure looked at the scene in front of him with a gloomy face. Damn it, I didn't expect her to get the water spirit pearl first. This figure was the 7th-level supremacies from Merry Woods. He looked around but did not find the water spirit pearl. Only now did he know that the water spirit pearl had already been obtained by Zhao Shui. He also heard Lin Xian's advice very clearly. However, he did not take it to heart. As long as he could obtain the Dragon Ball, he was confident that he could neutralize the evil aura inside. Therefore, the most important thing was to obtain the Dragon Ball. This Dragon Ball is something left behind by a king. Moreover, it contains evil aura. It must be very terrifying. When I get the treasure later, it will definitely not be peaceful. I only need to hide in the dark and observe. At the crucial moment, I may make a move. There is still hope. This 7th-level supremacies had already made up his mind. Even if he had to offend both Zhao Shui and Lin Xian at the same time, he still had to obtain the Dragon Ball. Hearing Lin Xian's words, Zhao Shui also fell into deep thought. However, she quickly raised her head. Her beautiful face was filled with determination. I understand what you said. However, no matter what, I must obtain this Dragon Ball. All right, since you insist, I will do my best to help you. Then, Lin Xian rubbed the snow-white little monkey's head. Little White, let's begin. The snow-white little monkey nodded. Then, it jumped off Lin Xian's shoulder and began to wave the staff in its hand. Suddenly, the Dragon Ball above trembled slightly. Then, it emitted an even brighter light. It felt as if a blue sun was shining in all directions. At the same time, the dark red divine dragon also moved. It raised its dragon claws and quickly carved a formation in the air. It enveloped the Dragon Ball and Lin Xian and the others. Of course, this was to isolate the Dragon Ball from the outside world. Otherwise, if the Dragon Ball went crazy and attracted some powerful sea monsters, it would be difficult for them. After doing all this, Lin Xian said with a serious expression, "It's your turn." Zhao Shui nodded. Then, the spiritual energy in her body surged and quickly formed a virtual sky eye above her. It was like the eyes of a god looking down on the common people. The surrounding warriors who were exploring all returned and looked at the scene in front of them with serious expressions. This was because they knew that the most crucial moment had come. Chapter 11:01. Elder Song and the others also had heavy hearts because they didn't expect Lin Xian to participate in such an important matter. After the Dragon Pearl was isolated, the rest was dangerous because what they needed to do was to collect the Dragon Pearl. This process would definitely use external forces, but if there was any external interference, the Dragon Pearl would automatically defend against it. Although it wasn't a King Realm cultivator resisting it, it wasn't something an ordinary honorable could resist. Therefore, they had to be careful. This required the snow-white little monkey because it could communicate with the Dragon Pearl through its staff and deceive it. Of course, it could only deceive a part of it and couldn't completely cover it. At this moment, Zhao Shui also took a deep breath and controlled the Void Sky Eye to attack the Dragon Pearl. Suddenly, the Void Sky Eye began to rotate and a whirlpool appeared in the huge eye. It quickly became bigger and shrouded the Dragon Pearl. The whirlpool rotated like a black hole and had an extremely strong devouring power as if it wanted to devour the Dragon Pearl. Feeling the pull of this power, the Dragon Pearl quickly trembled and then exploded with a powerful light. A terrifying power surged out of the Dragon Pearl and quickly rushed upwards. This power overflowed and the entire Dragon Palace shook as if it would collapse at any moment. At this moment, the snow-white little monkey quickly waved the staff in its hand and communicated with the Dragon Pearl above to deceive it. However, the effect was minimal and could only weaken the Dragon Pearl's power by a little. Great Dragon Sword Soul. At this moment of crisis, Lin Xian's body suddenly emitted a sharp sword qi. This sword qi quickly rushed upwards to resist the Dragon Pearl. Everyone's hearts shook when they sensed the sword qi. Even the 7th-level venerated realm expert from Merrywoods frowned. He didn't expect the young man in front of him to have such a powerful sword aura. The surrounding cultivators were even more shocked because this sword qi made them feel incomparable fear. With Lin Xian's help, the battle situation above changed once again. An extremely sharp sword aura quickly enveloped the entire Dragon Ball. It was as if it wanted to cut it apart. If it was just an ordinary sword qi, it wouldn't be able to get close to the Dragon Pearl, or it would shatter the moment it got close. However, Lin Xian's sword aura was different. It was not an ordinary sword aura. It was a sword aura that came from the Great Dragon Sword Soul, a cultivation method and saint art of the world. Its attack power could be said to be incomparably powerful. Even if the Dragon Pearl was something left behind by a king, it couldn't instantly shatter this sword qi. However, Lin Xian's actions also angered the Dragon Pearl. The blue Dragon Pearl above released a burst of majestic power and rushed towards Lin Xian as if it wanted to tear him apart. Lin Xian scoffed and a layer of Red Lotus armor quickly covered his body to protect him. The Red Lotus armor was an extremely powerful defensive technique. Lin Xian was very confident in it. A low sound was heard. Then 2 figures were sent flying. After all, the Dragon Pearl was a treasure left behind by a king. Its power was terrifying and definitely far beyond everyone's imagination. Therefore, after the attack, Lin Xian and Zhao Shui were sent flying. However, the 2 of them were only sent flying and didn't suffer any injuries. However, this scene made the surrounding people widen their eyes as if they had seen a ghost. They could understand why Zhao Shui wasn't injured. After all, she was a 7-day venerable realm expert. It shouldn't be a problem for her to resist the power of the Dragon Pearl. However, Lin Xian was different. Although he had just broken through to the 5th heaven of the venerable realm, it was impossible for him to resist the power of the Dragon Pearl. However, in the end he successfully resisted it and wasn't injured. Damn it, how is this possible? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? This kid isn't injured at all. Dogshit luck, it must be dogshit luck. That's why this kid escaped by a fluke. Just wait and see. Next time, he will definitely be blasted into pieces by this energy. The disciples of the Divine Southern Palace snorted. Lin Xian's strength was beyond their imagination. First, he released a terrifying sword qi. Now, he had such a strong defense. Both of them were extremely shocking. On the other hand, the people of the Immortal Martial Academy heaved a sigh of relief. Everyone was excited. That's great. As expected of junior brother Lin. He's really strong. He can even block the terrifying energy of the Dragon Pearl. Yeah, junior brother Lin seems to be able to create miracles every time. Because these people had the most contact with Lin Xian, they had heard too many legends about Lin Xian. Therefore, they didn't have any doubts about Lin Xian not being injured. In fact, they were very excited. Elder Song and the rest also heaved a sigh of relief. They were originally worried, but now it seemed that their worries were unnecessary. Marywood's 7th level venerated realm looked ahead with a solemn expression. He could also block that attack. However, he was a 7th heaven venerable while the opponent was only a 5th heaven venerable. There was a difference of 2 realms between them. The difference was like heaven and earth. This kid is very strange. No matter if it's his attack or defense, they both far surpass those of the same realm. It seems that we have underestimated him. Just as everyone was discussing, Lin Xian also heaved a sigh of relief. The energy was weaker than he expected. It seemed that the staff in the Snow White Monkey's hand had some effect. Moreover, although they were forced back, it wasn't like they didn't have any effect. At least, a small area above the Dragon Pearl was covered by the sword chi. As expected, the awakened Dragon Sword soul had become extremely powerful. Even the Dragon Pearl left behind by a king couldn't be completely destroyed in an instant. This was definitely a great opportunity. Seeing this scene, Zhao Shui's face lit up with joy. In the next moment, he quickly formed hand seals and controlled the void sky eye above him to attack the Dragon Pearl that was covered by the sword chi. A golden light appeared in Zhao Shui's beautiful eyes, carrying a frightening aura. Not only that, but as her eyes changed, the void sky eye above her also changed. Golden lines quickly appeared in the huge pupil, condensing into a mysterious pattern that covered the eyeball. This change made the void sky eye even more powerful. The originally grayish-black vortex turned pale gold at this moment, and an even more powerful devouring power was formed. Lin Xian activated the Great Dragon Sword Soul once again, sending out streaks of sharp sword chi that slashed forward. The Snow White Monkey also quickly waved the staff in its hand, and in the end, it simply threw the staff into the golden vortex. The main force of this battle was Zhao Shui. As long as she devoured the Dragon Pearl, everything would be done. Lin Xian and the Snow White Monkey only assisted from the side. The Dragon Pearl was an ownerless object, so it could only rely on its instincts to defend. Previously, Zhao Shui gave it the greatest threat, so it resisted the most. Chapter 1102. Because the little white monkey threw the staff into the golden vortex. The staff had a certain connection with the Dragon Ball and could weaken the Dragon Ball's resistance. Now that it was thrown into the golden vortex, it directly weakened the Dragon Ball's resistance to the golden vortex. This was definitely the most important step. Zhao Shui also seemed to feel this change and was immediately overjoyed. In the next moment, she shouted and the light in her eyes became brighter. The golden vortex above also quickly turned from a faint gold to a pure gold. Finally, it was like a giant beast that swallowed the sky and swallowed the Dragon Ball in an instant. Seeing this scene, the surrounding people were also in an uproar. They didn't expect Zhao Shui to succeed. The Dragon Ball was like a blue sun, blooming with incomparable light and instantly crashed into the golden vortex. Although the blue Dragon Ball entered the golden vortex, the power it carried was too terrifying. When the two collided, a powerful energy fluctuation burst out and quickly swept in all directions. This energy was extremely terrifying and instantly tore the array set up by the dark red divine dragon and quickly rushed in all directions. The surrounding people's faces changed drastically and quickly retreated. Some of the slower cultivators were even directly sent flying. Zhao Shui was also impacted by this energy and immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. However, she didn't care and her eyes were filled with surprise. Success! She finally succeeded in subduing the Dragon Ball. Although it was impacted, the Dragon Ball gradually sank into the golden vortex. At this moment, an extremely anxious voice came from afar. Quickly stop, you can't take the Dragon Ball away. The Dragon Ball is the hope of Deity City. You will push Deity City into the abyss by doing this. Hearing this voice, everyone was stunned because they realized that this voice didn't seem to be from a human at all. Zhao Shui and Lin Xian were also stunned. They didn't expect someone to stop them at the last moment. Finally, the two of them turned their heads and saw a figure walking over from the Dragon Palace. It was an old man with white hair and a walking stick. What was more strange was that he was carrying a turtle shell on his back that was covered with moss. Xian Turtle Clan. It was another member of the Xian Turtle Clan. Many people were puzzled because this old man was too old. His hair, eyebrows, and beard almost reached the ground. Needless to say, this was definitely a black tortoise that had lived for countless years. Lin Xian looked at the old black tortoise and frowned. Although the other party was old and his blood seemed to have dried up, with his sharp soul power, he could feel that the old man's realm was extremely terrifying. She seemed to be even better than Zhao Shui. I never expected the Xian Turtle Clan to have an 8th Heaven Exalt Realm expert as well. What? 8th Heaven Venerable. Hearing those words, everyone's hearts trembled. They looked at the aged black tortoise and revealed expressions of disbelief. They had never imagined that the black tortoise that could barely walk was actually an 8th Heavenly Layer Exalted Realm expert. This was a figure who was more powerful than everyone present. If he were to attack, it was likely that no one would be able to stop him. However, the old tortoise shook his head slightly. I can't. I'm old. Although my cultivation is still there, I can't use much of my battle strength. The old tortoise's voice was old. He looked at the young man in front of him, and his eyes flickered. Because he didn't expect the young man in front of him to be able to see through his cultivation with a single glance. Zhao Shui regained her coldness. She glanced at the old tortoise and said coldly, I respect you as a senior and won't attack you. However, I won't return the Dragon Ball. It wasn't easy for her to obtain the Dragon Ball. How could she return it? One had to know that this was a treasure left behind by a king. On the side, the 7th Heaven Exalt of Mary Woods also said, You know that you don't have any battle strength left, yet you still dare to stop us. Could it be that there's a secret behind this? One had to know that the Dragon Ball had been taken away by Zhao Shui. There was no hope for him to make a move again. However, he still hadn't given up on the Dragon Ball. Therefore, now that the old tortoise had come out, it might be a chance for him. The old tortoise trembled slightly as he came in front of everyone. His old voice sounded again. I've already lived for thousands of years and my life is about to come to an end. In my last years, I really don't want to see the underwater city fall into endless danger. Thousands of years. Hearing this, everyone was shocked again. They didn't expect this old man to have lived for so long. He was even longer than an ordinary king. On the one hand, warriors cultivated to obtain great power. On the other hand, they wanted to obtain a longer lifespan. Because only by living could they enjoy everything. Generally, a venerable only had a lifespan of 500 to 800 years. Once they became a king, they could live for as long as 1,000 years. However, a king could only live for 2,000 years at most. It was impossible for them to live any longer because this was the rule of heaven and earth. No one could change this unless they broke through to the next realm. However, the Xian Turtle Clan seemed to be somewhat special. Because the Xian Turtle Clan was a monster clan, their lifespan was originally longer than that of humans. Naturally, the powerhouses of the clan could live longer. Therefore, it was possible for the powerhouses of the Xian Turtle Clan to live for thousands of years. However, even if they lived for thousands of years, they couldn't escape the fate of death. Life and death reincarnation. It seemed that no one could escape this law. At least, in Lin Xian's current knowledge, no warrior of any realm could escape. He didn't know if the realms beyond his knowledge could escape. The old Xian Turtle's words seemed to resonate with everyone, especially those of the older generation. Their eyes flickered, and they remained silent. They had lived for hundreds of years and were close to the end of their lives. That was why they had entered the remote heavenly secret realm with the young people this time. They wanted to take a gamble and find treasures in the secret realm to break through their cultivation. Only then could they extend their lifespan. At this moment, seeing the old Shen turtle who was about to die, they naturally resonated with him. Everyone, you might not know this, but this Dragon Ball can be said to be the guardian of the underwater city. There are countless sea clan near the Dragon Ball. Every year, they will contribute their power to the Dragon Ball, and the Dragon Ball is responsible for protecting the peace of the entire underwater city. This has been going on for thousands of years. I remember clearly that before the Dragon Ball appeared, this underwater city would often create tremors, tsunamis, and countless undercurrents, which posed a great threat to the Sea Clan. Since the appearance of the Dragon Ball, these disasters have disappeared. Therefore, for the safety of the underwater city, you can't take the dragons away. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. They didn't expect the Dragon Ball to have such a function. Could it be that this Dragon Ball can affect the laws of this world? The dark red divine dragon exclaimed. Speaking of which, his cultivation was the highest, so his knowledge was naturally far beyond these people. At this moment, he frowned when he heard the old Shen turtle's words. Chapter 1103. One had to know that mountain torrents, tsunamis, and undercurrents were all natural phenomena. No matter how powerful a treasure was, it could only affect a part of it. It couldn't completely control it. Moreover, there hadn't been any tsunamis in the 1,000 years since the Dragon Ball appeared. This meant that it had already controlled this part of the world. It was too strange. The cultivators around them were too weak, so they couldn't understand the dragon's words. However, Zhao Shui and the 7th level Venerable frowned. The old black turtle was also surprised. He didn't expect that there would be someone who knew so much. He sighed and continued, "Indeed, nothing can control the world. However, what if these disasters weren't caused by the world?" Well, they weren't caused by the world? Could it be caused by humans? Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Powerful cultivators could split mountains and rivers and cause disasters. This wasn't a problem. However, it was only for an instant. They had never heard of anyone who could create disasters for hundreds or thousands of years. This was simply impossible. Even a king couldn't do it. Now, the old black turtle was telling everyone that the disasters in the past were caused by humans. This was simply too inconceivable. Are you sure? Lin Xian was also shocked. He couldn't think of what kind of expert could do this. The dragon frowned and said with an unnatural expression, "It's muttering to itself. Could it be him?" Lin Xian quickly asked after hearing that. The dragon didn't say anything. Instead, it looked at Lin Xian meaningfully. Seeing the dragon's expression, Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat. He quickly thought of a name. This was the name of the target he was looking for. It was also the name of this secret realm. The heavenly netherbird. Perhaps only those ancient ferocious beasts could cause such a disaster. Who are you talking about? The surrounding cultivators asked anxiously. They really wanted to know what kind of existence could do this. However, before Lin Xian could say anything, an exciting aura suddenly surged out from below the underwater city. Feeling this aura, everyone's hair stood on end as fear rose from the bottom of their hearts. Even Mary Wood's 7th layer venerables and Zhao Shui were frowning as if they were facing a great enemy, let alone the ordinary disciples. The old black turtle's expression also changed drastically, and his aged voice trembled slightly. "It's him. It's him. It's alive again." Lin Xian's expression was also grave because that aura was too terrifying. It was as if there was a ball of flames that wanted to roast his body. This was too inconceivable. One had to know that this was the bottom of the sea. How could there be a fire? Even if there was, it wouldn't be able to burn. However, the aura was extremely scorching, bringing with it a terrifying heat that even melted the seawater. However, the aura left as quickly as it came, disappearing without a trace in an instant. Many disciples gasped for breath with ghastly pale countenances, and their entire bodies were drenched in sweat. What was down there? The elders of the Divine Bird Palace kept gasping for breath, and their expressions were full of horror. At that moment, they were like ants encountering a golden dragon, producing a kind of fear that couldn't be controlled. That kind of fear came from the depths of their bodies, from their bloodline, and they couldn't control it at all. This was too shocking. One had to know that their ancestors were the three-headed divine bird, an extremely powerful existence. Although these people didn't have the pure bloodline of their ancestors, they were descendants after all, and their bodies contained a trace of the divine bird's bloodline. But even so, they couldn't resist that aura at all, and they were terrified. The other disciples were also scared. Wasn't this underwater city already under the sea? How could there be something down there? Who knew what kind of monster was down there? A group of warriors felt their scalps tingle, and they looked frightened. They didn't dare to stay any longer. The old tortoise sighed and then said faintly, "You should have heard of the heavenless demonic beasts." Heavenless demonic beasts? Hearing this, everyone was shocked and stopped running away with a suspicious look on their faces. Isn't that a legendary demonic beast? Does it really exist? It's actually a heavenless demonic beast. This is really incredible. Everyone was talking about it and they were shocked. In this world, in addition to humans, there were also demonic beasts, all kinds of demonic beasts. In ancient times, there were experts who categorized these demonic beasts into the heaven list and earth list. Any demonic beast that could be on the heaven list was an extremely powerful existence in the world. Among them, the demonic beasts on the heaven list were even more terrifying. Each of them was a peerless, fierce beast with unimaginable power. However, as time passed, the powerful sects of ancient times declined, and those heaven-list demonic beasts gradually disappeared. Now, only some earth-list demonic beasts still existed. The heaven-list demonic beasts seemed to have become legends. Therefore, these disciples were so shocked when they heard about the heaven-list demonic beasts. Seeing that everyone knew about the legend of the heaven-list demonic beasts, the old black turtle continued. Among the heaven-list demonic beasts, there is a demonic beast that is ranked 7th, called the Great Xia Dragonfinch. What? The Great Xia Dragonfinch? How is that possible? Hearing this, everyone screamed. The older generation figures were also shocked. Even Zhao Shui and Mary Forrest's 7th Venerable were in disbelief. The Great Xia Dragonfinch was a terrifying existence that was ranked 7th on the heaven list demonic beasts. It was definitely a peerless, fierce beast. With their cultivation, they couldn't even resist a trace of the other party's aura. Everyone was terrified, and many people even wanted to escape. If it was really the Great Xia Dragonfinch, then they wouldn't have any chance to resist. Not to mention them, the entire Tianwu continent would probably cease to exist. One had to know that these people were all disciples of the top sects in the continent, so they knew a lot of things. For example, they knew about the legend of the Great Xia Dragonfinch. It was the guardian beast of the Great Xia Kingdom. The Great Xia Kingdom was not the Great Xia Kingdom in Lin Xian's hometown, but a true ancient divine kingdom. Legend had it that outside the Tianwu continent, there was an even wider world, and the Great Xia Kingdom was one of them. It was said that the Great Xia Kingdom's territory was very vast, even larger than the entire Tianwu continent. One could imagine how powerful this kingdom was. Perhaps even the top king of the Tianwu continent wouldn't be able to cause any waves in the Great Xia Kingdom. And this dragonfinch was the strongest divine beast in the Great Xia Kingdom, protecting the safety of the entire Great Xia Kingdom. It was definitely an extremely terrifying existence, an existence that everyone could only look up to. Chapter 1104. Furthermore, it was said that from then on, the entire Tianwu continent had become an endless sea. Even a king could not fly over it. In the end, the outside world became a legend, and people treated this matter as a myth. However, they did not expect to hear news of the Great Xia Dragonfinch in the remote sky secret realm. At this moment, the dark red dragon snorted coldly. What kind of joke is this? How can it be the Great Xia Dragonfinch? If it really is the Great Xia Dragonfinch, I'm afraid the entire secret realm will cease to exist. The dark red dragon's voice rang out, causing everyone to shiver. Following that, everyone's faces were filled with doubt. That's right, what kind of terrifying existence could easily destroy the entire Tianwu continent? How could a secret realm trap it? The dark red dragon had come to look for the heavenly netherbird, but now the great Xia dragonfinch had appeared. This made him very doubtful, so he retorted. The others also came to their senses and stared at the old black turtle, their faces full of doubt. Don't tell me you're deliberately making up a story to deceive us in order to keep the Dragon Ball? That's right, how could it be the legendary great Xia dragonfinch? The group of people stared at the old black turtle in disbelief. The old black turtle shook his head slightly and sighed. You've misunderstood. The real great Xia dragonfinch has long disappeared in the long river of history. The one below is not the great Xia dragonfinch, but the heavenly netherbird. The heavenly netherbird has a trace of the great Xia dragonfinch's bloodline, and its strength is terrifying. It is also a demonic beast on the heaven list. In ancient times, this heavenly netherbird bewitched the world and was sealed in this secret realm by a peerless expert. This seal not only seals it, but also consumes its strength at all times. I'm afraid it can't use much of its strength now. But even so, it's not something we can resist. After all, none of the demonic beasts on the heaven list are easy to deal with. Furthermore, as time passes, the seal will loosen. I'm afraid it won't be long before the heavenly netherbird breaks out of the seal. At that time, not only will it be a disaster for the entire underwater city, but the remote sky secret realm will also fall into eternal damnation. And if the other party recovers its strength, I'm afraid your world will not be spared. Hearing this, everyone fell silent. The old black tortoise was right. Although the heavenly netherbird was not as strong as the great Xia dragonfinch, it was still a demonic beast on the heaven list. Moreover, the aura that everyone felt just now was really too terrifying. It was not something they could resist. If the other party really came out, none of them would be able to escape. Therefore, everyone's hearts were heavy, and their expressions were ugly. However, there was one exception, and that was Lin Xian. The corner of his mouth curled up, revealing a trace of joy. This was because the main reason he came here was to find the heavenly netherbird. Originally, he had only come to try his luck and wasn't completely confident. However, after listening to the old tortoise, he was certain that the heavenly netherbird was sealed under the underwater city. Only the flames produced by peerless beasts could burn in this endless sea and never be extinguished. As if responding to the old black turtle's words, an extremely low and obscure voice came from the depths of the ground. It seemed to be an illusion, yet it also seemed to be real. Along with this voice, everyone trembled as if they were in an endless sea of fire. The spiritual energy in their bodies was about to be roasted. Buzz. Lin Xian also felt this heat. Immediately, the big red sword soul in his body seemed to have been activated and let out a sonorous sword cry. The big dragon sword soul rarely had such a phenomenon. One could imagine how terrifying the other party was. The old black turtle's body swayed as if it would fall at any moment. Lin Xian took a deep breath and then sighed. He could see that the old black turtle did not have much time left to live. This was because with his perception, he could clearly feel that the other party's qi and blood had almost dried up. It could be said that it was a miracle that it could live until now. At the same time, he kept thinking about the news from before. Although he had obtained countless treasures, none of them were as important as this news because it was really good news for him. However, the only thing that worried him was that the heavenly netherbird was too strong. He was afraid that with his current strength, he would not be able to contend against the other party. It seemed that he could only think of another way. At this moment, the old black turtle spoke again. The dragon pearl contains powerful energy that can help prolong the seal and suppress and eliminate the disaster caused by the heavenly netherbird. So, please return the dragon pearl. Hearing this, everyone fell silent. They all looked at Zhao Shui because the dragon pearl was in her hands. Feeling the gazes of so many people, Zhao Shui's expression did not change. She still said coldly, "Using the dragons to suppress it will only delay it for a while. It won't solve the problem at all. Moreover, from the aura just now, the seal below is already very loose. I'm afraid that even with the dragon pearl, it won't last long. Now that the dragon pearl is gone, it might be better. You can make plans in advance. Maybe you can find a new way out. So, I won't return the dragon pearl." Zhao Shui decisively refused. What she said was right. Even if she left the dragon pearl with the current situation, it would only be suppressed for 1 or 2 years. After that, it would not be able to suppress it at all. At that time, these Sea Clan would still have to suffer a disaster. Therefore, whether she took the dragon pearl or not, the result would be the same for these ocean pearl. Moreover, the dragon pearl was very important to her, so no matter what, she would not give it up. Hearing this, everyone fell silent. They did not say anything because they knew Zhao Shui's analysis. The old tortoise sighed. He was extremely disappointed. Lin Xian also sighed slightly. Indeed, the situation in the underwater city was not optimistic. Even if they did not come to seize the dragon pearl, they would not be able to survive for long. The old black turtle was extremely disappointed. To be honest, before this, he did not believe that a human could take away the dragon pearl. Therefore, he did not pay much attention at first. However, when he noticed, it was already too late. These humans had already taken away the dragon pearl. Moreover, he also knew that what he had said was the truth. Even if they had the dragon pearl, they would not be able to survive for long. I didn't expect this to be the result. I can only use my last bit of strength to contribute to this underwater city. At the end of his words, the old black turtle's eyes suddenly emitted a terrifying light, and his bent body instantly straightened up. Chapter 1105. 8th Heaven Venerable Realm. Feeling this aura, everyone's expression changed. They did not expect the old black turtle to suddenly erupt with such tyrannical power. This power was too strong. Even Zhao Shui and the 7th layer Venerable of Merry Woods could not resist it. Lin Xian also quickly used the Red Lotus armor to protect his body while constantly retreating. At the same time, he sensed that the spiritual power and qi and blood in the old black turtle's body were burning rapidly. It was because he was burning his life without caring about the consequences that he erupted with such a terrifying aura. Damn it, this old guy doesn't want to die with us, does he? The disciples of Divine Bird Palace screamed crazily. Hearing this, everyone's expression became extremely ugly. If the old black turtle really wanted to die with them, they would not be able to escape. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. There was no fear on his face because he knew that the old black turtle would not do this. Because this was the power obtained by burning his qi and blood and life. It was impossible to kill everyone. Moreover, it was useless no matter what the old black turtle did. After all, things had already happened. Even if he killed them all, it could not be reversed. Therefore, he did not think that the old black turtle wanted to kill them. Sure enough, Lin Xian's guess was right. The old black turtle did not attack them. Instead, he used the last of his strength to quickly send a voice transmission to the underwater city and even the Sea Clan further away. All Sea Clan members, listen up. From today onwards, leave the underwater city and even this sea area. Also, don't come back for 100 years. Because a great disaster is about to happen here. This voice turned into rolling waves and spread clearly into the distance. Hearing this voice, everyone fell silent. They did not expect that the old black turtle would not attack them, but warned the Sea Clan to evacuate. This action made them fall silent. However, at this moment, a terrifying fluctuation suddenly came from the underground of the underwater city, causing the entire dragon palace to tremble. Then, the surrounding ground cracked and countless trenches appeared. Balls of black flames gushed out from the cracks and burned fiercely. This scene was very strange. This was the bottom of the sea, but there were countless black flames burning endlessly. Moreover, what was even more terrifying was that these black flames were too terrifying. They directly evaporated a large amount of seawater and even distorted the void. Accompanied by these flames, there was an extremely low voice. Just you wait, I'm about to break the seal. Old Taoist Song, you dared to seal me in the past. I will definitely avenge you. I want your mystic realm to cease to exist. His voice was filled with a primeval aura and endless fury. Hearing this voice, everyone's expression changed. They didn't expect the seal to be so damaged that even the heavenly Netherbird's voice could be heard. This was not good news at all. Not only the human Jinji in the Dragon Palace, But all the sea clans in the underwater city and even the sea areas further away also heard this voice. They were all terrified, and their bodies were trembling. The sealed Great Demon King is about to come out. Damn it! The heavenly Netherbird is crazy. It wants to destroy the entire secret realm. Let's go. We can't stay here any longer. At this moment, everyone was fleeing. They wanted to flee to a safe place. Although the Heaven Serene Bird couldn't break the seal for the time being, if it continued to stay in the underwater city, it would be burned to ashes by the black flames. Zhao Shui shouted and used her movement technique to quickly run outside. Because the situation was extremely chaotic, and she had the Dragon Ball, who knew if someone would take advantage of the chaos to steal it? Therefore, without any hesitation, she turned into a white lightning and quickly left the place. Lin Xian waved his hand and called back the dark red dragon and the white monkey. Then he used the illusionary demonic steps and turned into a sword light, disappearing from the spot. The two of them were very fast and disappeared in an instant. When Elder Song and the others saw Lin Xian leave, their expressions became solemn. Then they said in a deep voice, "Follow me and break out with all your strength." The people of the Merry Woods and the Divine Bird Palace also fled in all directions, running out of the Dragon Palace. Outside the Dragon Palace, countless sea clans also fled. Because the disaster had arrived, the black flames coming from the underground were too terrifying. Even venerables couldn't resist it. Fortunately, they didn't have to deal with the black flames. They just had to be careful and avoid them. Although it was dangerous, it wasn't fatal. The 7th level venerables of the Merry Woods used a powerful technique to safely bring the people of the Merry Woods out of the Dragon Palace. Then, she said to those people, "Hurry up and leave this underwater world. I still have some things to do, don't wait for me." After saying that, she turned into a ghost light and instantly rushed into the distance. This direction was the direction where Zhao Shui and Lin Xian left. It seemed that the 7th level venerables of the Merry Woods didn't give up on the Dragon Ball. The entire underwater world, which was the Mirage Sea Zone, fell into panic and disaster. The disciples of the Immortal Martial Academy risked their lives and finally left the Mirage Sea Zone. The moment they stepped on land, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. However, long before this, Lin Xian and Zhao Shui had already left the Mirage Sea. In a low valley, the two lights flashed and then turned into two figures. One of them was a tall and straight young man with an ancient sword on his back. The other was a fairy-like woman in a fluttering white robe. These two people were Lin Xian and Zhao Shui. "Young Master Lin, thank you for your help." Zhao Shui said. "It's nothing. You helped me find the water spirit pearl. It's only right that I help you." Lin Xian smiled. Zhao Shui nodded. "All right, since that's the case, I'll take my leave first. See you again." "Wait," Xian suddenly said. "But do you still have something to do?" Zhao Shui's brows furrowed and she looked displeased. Her current thought was to quickly refine the energy in the Dragon Ball. She didn't want to do anything else now. "I have a plan. I wonder if you're interested?" Lin Xian said slowly. Zhao Shui shook her head. "Forget it. I have other things to do. Let's talk about other things in the future." She turned and was about to leave. At this moment, Lin Xian's voice floated from behind. "Once this plan succeeds, I can guarantee that the benefits you'll get will be several times stronger than the energy in the Dragon Ball." Chapter 1106. You dare to have designs on the heavenly Netherbird? Do you not want to live anymore? Zhao Shui was too shocked. She didn't think that the other party was even more daring than her. He actually dared to have designs on an ancient beast. This was no longer madness. This was simply courting death. It's nothing. The greater the risk, the greater the benefits. I think you understand this principle. Furthermore, the heavenly Netherbird has been imprisoned for thousands of years. I'm afraid it can't use much of its strength. Furthermore, we don't want to kill the heavenly Netherbird. We just want to obtain some benefits from it. I think it should be much easier." Lin Xian smiled and said, "Of course, if you don't want to, then forget it. I'll find someone else. However, if you agree, I can help you protect for free so that you can quickly absorb the energy from the Dragon Ball. After listening to Lin Xian's plan, Zhao Shui was speechless. She quickly thought in her heart. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back with a smile on his face. The reason why he wanted to find Zhao Shui was because she was his old friend. Although she had lost her memories, Lin Xian still wanted to cooperate with her subconsciously. Furthermore, from the process of Zhao Shui seizing the Dragon Ball, he realized that Zhao Shui urgently needed power. One had to know that the blood qi in the Dragon Ball had a great effect on 7th level Supremes. However, Zhao Shui was determined to seize the Dragon Ball. This was enough to show her desire for power. Now, there was a source of power that was even greater than the Dragon Ball in front of her. He didn't believe that she could resist this temptation. As expected, after thinking for a moment, Zhao Shui quickly nodded and said, "Okay, I promise you. However, if the heavenly netherbird really threatens my life one day, I will stop working with you. Don't worry, I won't joke around with my life." Lin Xian shrugged. Since they had decided to work together, the two of them gathered again and quickly discussed what to do next. At this moment, the void rippled, and another figure appeared nearby. This figure was Mary Wood's 7th level Venerate. He had followed Lin Xian and Zhao Shui out of the underwater world. In his opinion, Zhao Shui and Lin Xian did not know each other before, and they were only in a cooperative relationship. Therefore, after leaving the underwater world, they would definitely act alone. At that time, Zhao Shui would be alone, and he would have a chance to snatch her. However, the scene in front of him surprised him because the two of them did not leave. Instead, they gathered together and seemed to be chatting happily. It seemed that the relationship between the two was closer than when they were in the underwater city. Immediately, his expression became extremely ugly. He didn't have full confidence in dealing with Zhao Shui to begin with, and now that the mysterious and strange Lin Xian had been added to the mix, it made things even more difficult for him. This was because although Lin Xian's cultivation was far lower than his, the sword qi that Lin Xian had unleashed and the bright red battle armor made the 7th level Venerate frown. Therefore, the 7th level Venerate hesitated for a moment, then sighed and turned to leave. The appearance and departure of Mary Wood's 7th level Venerate did not escape Lin Xian and Zhao Shui's senses. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and smiled. Zhao Shui snorted coldly. He ran fast. There was a hint of anger in her voice. It seemed that if the 7th level Venerate had really said everything, Zhao Shui would have gone berserk immediately. Next, Lin Xian and Zhao Shui chatted for a while. Most of it was Lin Xian asking Zhao Shui about her past. However, after listening, Lin Xian was expressionless, but his heart was incomparably heavy. The heavenly netherbird's body was covered in black flames. It was like a divine bird of the underworld as it quickly flew into the sky. Boom! An earth-shattering sound was heard as a huge crater appeared on the ground. Seawater flowed into the crater. Under the heavenly serene bird's struggle, the broken seal was finally broken. The chains also left the ground and flew into the sky with the heavenly serene bird. However, the black chains were very intelligent. The moment they left the seal, they intertwined and quickly wrapped around the heavenly netherbird's body. This made the heavenly netherbird, who had just escaped the seal, extremely angry. The flames on its body surged as it tried to break free from the black chains. However, after struggling for a long time, it was to no avail. Moreover, the chains became tighter and tighter as if they were going to sink into its flesh. Damn the astral chains. Not only did they trap me for thousands of years, but they even absorbed my energy to repair themselves. What's even worse is that I've been trapped in the 9 underworlds all these years. I can't even absorb energy from the outside world. Ah, damn old Taoist song. One day, I'll break these chains and destroy your secret realm. However, no matter how much you calculated, you couldn't have predicted that I would break the seal again. Wait until I find your nest in the secret realm and break the astral chains. Let's see who in this world can stop me. The heavenly netherbird's terrifying voice was like thunder. It was accompanied by black flames that blasted in all directions. Instantly, Everything within a radius of 1,000 miles was flattened. Then, it flapped its wings and quickly disappeared into the sky. It wasn't until a long time after the heavenly netherbird disappeared that the surviving creatures let out a sigh of relief. They were the disciples of the three great sections. Their faces were pale as they sat on the ground, gasping for breath. What happened just now was too terrifying. If the heavenly netherbird had stayed for a while longer, it would have definitely affected them. At that time, they wouldn't have been able to escape and would have disappeared from this world forever like the sea demons. However, the heavenly netherbird wasn't interested in them. It had only killed the sea demons to vent its anger for thousands of years. Its real goal was to break the astral chains on its body and obtain true freedom. This was because the astral chains were very special. Not only did it restrict its body, but it also prevented it from cultivating. Therefore, it had to break the astral chains in order to return to its peak state. After the heavenly netherbird left, the surviving sea demons all fled. The cultivators of the three great sects also hurriedly went on their way and fled. Who knew if the heavenly netherbird would come back? If they encountered it, it would be over. Just when everyone was running away, two figures flew in the opposite direction. They were flying in the direction where the heavenly netherbird had left. These two figures were Lin Xian and Zhao Shui. Chapter 1108. Lin Xian, are you sure you want to follow the heavenly netherbird? If we're discovered, we won't be able to escape. Zhao Shui's face was filled with worry because the heavenly netherbird's destruction was too terrifying. Even the terrifying Mirage Sea had been evaporated, let alone the two of them. Lin Xian was much calmer. He said, "Don't worry, we don't have to follow too closely. We just have to follow the remnants of the hell's black flames." The heavenly netherbird is definitely connected to the secret realm. It must know where the core of the secret realm is. That's the place with the greatest wealth in the secret realm. Hearing this, Zhao Shui took a deep breath as her eyes flashed. Indeed, the remote sky secret realm was very vast. Although there were humans who entered every time, they only explored 1/10 of the place. There were still 90% of the place that humans had yet to explore. If they followed the heavenly netherbird, they might really be able to find the core of the secret realm. Therefore, she gritted her teeth and followed. The two of them didn't dare to get too close. However, it was impossible for them to get too close. This was because the heavenly netherbird was simply too fast. In the blink of an eye, it had already disappeared. Fortunately, the black flames on its body scattered on the ground, guiding Lin Xian and Zhao Shui. However, they gradually realized that the black flames on the ground were quickly decreasing. This meant that the heavenly netherbird's speed had reached a terrifying level. However, the two of them were soul force experts. Their soul force was very strong and sensitive. Therefore, although they couldn't find the black flames, they could feel the traces left behind by the black flames in the air. With these traces, they could continue to follow. When they realized that the aura of the black flames lingered in the air for a long time, the two of them finally calmed down and slowly followed. Right now, the two of them weren't in a hurry. They believed that as long as they maintained their speed and followed the aura of the black flames, they would eventually find the heavenly netherbird. Along the way, Zhao Shui even tried to absorb the energy from the dragon pearl as they hurried along. Lin Xian didn't stay idle either. He would also quickly absorb the energy from the water spirit pearl. The two of them cultivated as they walked. Their days were quite fulfilling. A few days later, Lin Xian frowned because he felt an energy aura similar to the Dragon Balls on Zhao Shui. Not only that, but this aura also carried a trace of evil qi. After frowning and pondering for a moment, Lin Xian finally spoke. "Are you really not afraid of the evil qi's backlash? If we lose control at that time, I'm afraid the losses will outweigh the gains." Hearing Lin Xian's warning, Zhao Shui remained expressionless. She faintly said, "Don't worry, I've only absorbed a small portion of the Dragon Ball's power. Its true purpose is not prepared for me." "Not for you?" This time, it was Lin Xian's turn to be stunned. He didn't understand what Zhao Shui meant. Could it be that she wanted to give the Dragon Balls to someone else? However, Zhao Shui did not reply, and he did not have the nerve to ask again. But he soon understood, because after another day, Zhao Shui stopped absorbing the Dragon Ball's energy. She did not transfer the Dragon Ball to someone else. Instead, a gray shadow appeared behind her. The shadow was very hazy, like a closed eye. Void Sky Eye. Seeing this shadow, Lin Xian was slightly surprised. He knew that this was Zhao Shui's ultimate technique, but he did not expect her to use it now. Zhao Shui did not explain. Instead, she placed the Dragon Ball into the Void Sky Eye and continued on their way. The Void Sky Eye trembled slightly. Then, it completely swallowed the Dragon Ball and began to absorb the Dragon Ball's energy. Lin Xian was shocked. He finally understood that this Dragon Ball was prepared for the Void Sky Eye. At the same time, the Dark Red Dragon quickly transmitted a message. Kid, you better be careful. This Void Sky Eye is very evil. Legend has it that when cultivated to the peak, you can summon a real evil eye. A real evil eye? Is that real? What is that evil eye? Lin Xian was surprised. I don't know what it is exactly, but from history, any cultivator who cultivated the Void Sky Eye did not have a good ending. If this little girl insists on cultivating it, I'm afraid her future will not be good. Hearing this, Lin Xian's heart trembled. Then he used his soul power to communicate with the Dark Red Dragon. In the end, he fell silent. This was because the Crimson Dragon didn't know too much about it. However, from these few sentences, it could tell that the Void Sky Eye was very strange. It was a famous evil technique in ancient times. Lin Xian sighed in his heart. He had no idea how Zhao Shui managed to get her hands on this skill. However, it seemed like it would be impossible to stop her from practicing it. It seemed that he could only think of a way in the future. Just as Lin Xian and the others were rushing, the disciples of the other sects in the remote sky secret realm were also moving quickly to find their own treasures. In a mountain range, there was a cave. In front of the cave, there were countless cultivators. These people were the elite disciples of the various sections. In front of the cave, there was a voice that opposed the crowd. This man was wearing a blue shirt. His eyes were deep like the starry sky. Although he did not emit any terrifying aura, he blocked the crowd outside the cave with his own strength. Shen Tsong, although you are a member of the king family, it is impossible for you to take the treasure for yourself. The person who spoke was a young man in a white robe. He held a sword in his hand. The sword trembled with a biting cold aura. However, although the sword chi was sharp, there were many injuries on his body. His white robe was also torn and there were faint bloodstains on it. He looked at the figure in front of him and said coldly, "That's right. Isn't it just a stone tablet? Why do you want to take it for yourself? Why don't we comprehend it together?" A beautiful lady said. She looked at the cave and her eyes flickered. "Do you really think that you can go against 3 7th-level supremacies?" This time, it was an old man who spoke. 3 7th-level supremacies. They did not expect the 3 of them to be 7th-level supremacies. This was simply too shocking. If the 3 7th-level supremacies joined forces, no one would be able to stop them. However, the man named Shen Tsong was expressionless. He did not even frown. He glanced at the 3 of them and said indifferently, "It's just 3 7th-level supremacies in the beginning stage. You guys are not enough. Presumptuous." This force was extremely terrifying, as if it could destroy the world. What a terrifying force. Who's this? Is a peerless expert coming? Many martial artists were terrified. As for the 3 7th heavenly layer venerables, their faces were solemn as they looked up in shock. That was because that force made them tremble uncontrollably. This kind of situation was very rare, and they would only tremble uncontrollably when facing a king. A king! This is the aura of a king. Impossible! How is this possible? How can a king enter the remote sky mystery realm? Could it be a native king here? The 3 powerhouses were terrified and couldn't believe it. Shen Tsong stopped, and his expression was extremely grave. All the muscles in his body tensed up, and the spiritual power in his body circulated rapidly. He was extremely nervous. This force was too powerful. It wasn't inferior to his family's ancestor at all. Just as everyone was extremely nervous, a huge black shadow swept across the sky. The wind howled, lightning flashed, and countless black flames danced. The entire void shattered. What exactly is that? When the crowd saw the mountain-like figure, they were all stunned. That figure was so huge that it covered the entire sky. Everywhere it passed, it created a terrifying scene. Moreover, there was an unbearable heat wave in the air. They knew that it was definitely not a human. Demonic beast, there was actually such a terrifying demonic beast here. It looked like it was definitely a king of monsters. Everyone trembled at the thought of this. Fortunately, the king of monsters wasn't coming for them. It didn't stop there at all and flew past quickly. However, when the black flames fell from the sky and landed on the bodies of the martialists, a large number of them were burned to ashes. Instantly, screams were heard. Countless martial artists fled to avoid the black flames that fell from the sky. Shen Tsung frowned. He also swayed his body and quickly dodged the black flames. What kind of demonic beast was it that had such a terrifying flame aura and an ancient desolate aura? Shen Chang's face was terrifyingly gloomy. He realized that things were a little out of his control. There wasn't such a peerless demonic beast in the information that he had received. In fact, this was only a small episode. Everywhere the heavenly nether bird passed, it created a doomsday scene. Along the way, a large number of mountains and trees were destroyed. Countless demonic beasts died in the disaster. There were even some unlucky humans who died in this disaster. In the depths of the remote heavenly secret realm, there was a huge ancient tree. It was like a huge mountain that pierced through the clouds. Under the ancient tree, there was a tall young man with a cold face. He was fighting with the demonic beasts around him. The demonic beasts had human faces and beast bodies. Their bodies were emitting green light. As they flapped their wings, they created tornadoes. Countless wind blades filled the entire space and quickly slashed at the cold young man. These demonic beasts were all wind demon beasts. They were very powerful. Each of them was above the sixth heaven of the martial honor realm. The leader was even a powerful demon general that was equivalent to the seventh heaven of the human realm. Humans wouldn't dare to get involved with such a group of terrifying demonic beasts. However, the young man came here and was not afraid of so many demonic beasts. 8 blades of the ocean abyss. Thinking about breaking through to the 5th level, he should be able to obtain a new secret technique. Sure enough, a new martial art appeared in his mind. Bloodthirsty Frenzy. To be more precise, it was a secret technique that allowed a martial artist to burn their blood essence and obtain power that exceeded their cultivation for a short period of time. It could be said that it was a life-saving method. Moreover, this method of burning blood essence was much better than the reckless methods of ordinary martial artists. The purpose of the bloodthirsty frenzy wasn't to injure or kill a martial artist, but to effectively use blood essence to increase one's strength for a short period of time. Therefore, using the bloodthirsty frenzy could allow one's blood essence to be controlled within a reasonable range and ensure that the martial artist wouldn't be harmed. In other words, if Lin Xian used the bloodthirsty frenzy, he would be able to obtain great strength for a short period of time. After that, he would only lose blood essence, which could be replenished by using more treasures. It wouldn't hurt his martial arts foundation. This was an extremely powerful method of the Blood Sword King back then. Of course, there was a limit to burning blood essence. If it exceeded the limit of the bloodthirsty frenzy, it would hurt one's foundation. Overall, as long as one didn't use blood essence recklessly, there wouldn't be any problems. It could be said that the bloodthirsty frenzy was an extremely good secret technique. After knowing this, Lin Xian smiled. Now, Lin Xian's spirit energy was only inferior to a 7th level venerable, but in terms of defense and attack, he was no different from a 7th level venerable. With his dragon sword soul's powerful battle strength, coupled with the bloodthirsty frenzy, he could erupt with strength far exceeding his own for a short period of time. The combination of the two allowed Lin Xian's battle strength to reach an unimaginable level. Moreover, this was only Lin Xian's own strength. If he used the Dragon Sword Soul or the Thousand Beast Cauldron, his strength would be even more powerful. Of course, these two items were his last resort. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he wouldn't use them. After putting all the blood swords back into his body, Lin Xian looked back at Zhao Shui and found that she seemed to have stopped cultivating. The two rested for a while before setting off again. This time, not only did Lin Xian reap great rewards, but Zhao Shui also reaped great rewards. She exhaled softly, and a smile appeared on her beautiful face. This Dragon Ball was indeed a treasure left behind by a king. The energy contained within it was simply too great. After absorbing it for a few days, her strength had increased significantly, and her virtual sky eye had become more condensed. Previously, the virtual sky eye was still a little blurry, but now it was clearer than before. Moreover, from the energy fluctuations it emitted, it was far stronger than before. This made Zhao Shui very happy. The two of them set off again, continuing to pursue the heavenly netherbird. However, this time, they didn't walk for long before they felt an intense fluctuation of spiritual energy in front of them, accompanied by the sound of fierce fighting. Damn it, that person from the Divine Bird Palace took the Jade Bodhi and Ghost Flower. Hurry up and chase, we can't let him escape. Countless angry shouts were heard. Immediately after, a ray of thunder and fire flew towards Lin Xian like lightning. It was very fast, like a flash of lightning, and carried with it a scorching and violent aura of thunder and fire. Seeing this scene, Zhao Shui's face darkened. This was because she could see that the purpose of this ray of light was to use her and Lin Xian as shields to block the pursuers. Chapter 11-12. With a cold snort, she struck out with her palm. The light flickered very quickly, leaving the people behind her far behind. The owner of this thunder fire was a middle-aged man. He originally wanted to use Lin Xian and Zhao Shui as shields, but he did not expect that the other party would dare to attack him. Zhao Shui did not deliberately release her aura, so the martial artist from Divine Bird Palace did not know her strength. However, looking at Zhao Shui's young appearance, her cultivation should not be too high. Therefore, at this moment, seeing Zhao Shui attack, the middle-aged man from Divine Bird Palace showed a disdainful smile. However, in the next moment, his pupils shrank and his expression changed greatly. That palm was too terrifying. Not only was the trajectory mysterious, but the energy contained was even more terrifying. This palm strike could easily kill a sixth heaven honorable martial artist. No matter how high the cultivation of the middle-aged man from Divine Bird Palace was, he was only a sixth heaven venerable and could not resist such power. Therefore, he gritted his teeth and could only use a secret technique to stimulate the bloodline power in his body to greatly increase his speed, so that he could dodge this terrifying light palm. Fortunately, he was a martial artist from Divine Bird Clan and had the bloodline power of Divine Bird in his body. Finally, just as the palm of light was about to hit him, he suddenly sped up and narrowly dodged the palm. His body appeared on the other side. The middle-aged martial artist's face was pale and he breathed a sigh of relief. Then, he glared fiercely at Zhao Shui and was about to leave. At this moment, something strange happened again. Around the middle-aged martial artist, the air fluctuated and blood swords appeared, forming a cage and trapping him. The middle-aged venerable was furious and frantically resisted, but it was to no avail. Not only that, the chi and blood in his body were almost absorbed by these strange blood swords. Seeing this scene, the middle-aged venerable from Divine Bird Palace's face darkened. He knew that this time, he had kicked an iron plate. Although the two people in front of him were young, their strength was absolutely terrifying, at least above his. Both of you, let's talk nicely. Don't fight anymore. Feeling the increasingly terrifying blood-fiendish chi, the middle-aged man from Divine Bird Palace was so scared that his scalp went numb, and he had to quickly beg for mercy. However, Lin Xian and Zhao Shui did not react at all. Seeing this situation, the middle-aged martial artist was filled with regret. There were so many directions in all directions. Why didn't he go? Why did he have to pick a direction? Back then, he had wanted to use Lin Xian and Zhao Shui as shields. Now, it seemed that he had overestimated himself. Such a person was not someone he could provoke at all. Which power did these two young men belong to? It was actually so terrifying. That shouldn't be the case. Even if he was a disciple of a king clan, he shouldn't be this terrifying, right? The middle-aged warrior from Divine Bird Palace felt his scalp tingle as he kept thinking. You too, I am from the Divine Bird Palace. If you let me go, the Divine Bird Palace will reward you handsomely. In the end, the middle-aged martial artist gritted his teeth and revealed his identity. Divine Bird Palace? Hearing these three words, the corner of Lin Xian's mouth revealed a trace of a playful expression. Seeing Lin Xian smile, the middle-aged martial artist's heart thumped. He had a bad premonition from the bottom of his heart. Young Master Lin, how should we deal with this guy? Zhao Shui asked coldly. He seems to have two good treasures in his hands. Why don't we snatch them? Of course we want the treasures, but since this man is from Divine Bird Palace, let's kill him. Lin Xian's voice was indifferent. He and Divine Bird Palace were mortal enemies. Now that he saw a martial artist from the other side, he naturally would not be lenient. Hearing Lin Xian's words, the middle-aged martial artist's heart sank to the bottom of the sea. However, he would not sit still and wait for his death. You want to kill me? It's not that easy. The middle-aged martial artist was very decisive. He cut off one of his arms and used a secret method to form a terrifying explosion of aura, breaking open the blood sword cage formed by Lin Xian. Then, the middle-aged man let out a long roar and increased his speed to the extreme. At the same time, he urged the bloodline power in his body to form two huge wings behind his back. The wings flapped and carried him quickly to escape into the distance. All this happened in an instant. In the next moment, the middle-aged martial artist had already escaped into the distance, and the round hole was about to disappear. It could be said that it was not easy for a 6th-level venerable to escape so far in an instant. However, in front of Lin Xian and Zhao Shui, the middle-aged man was destined to be miserable. Zhao Shui snorted coldly and waved her hand. Suddenly, a blurry eye appeared above her and shot out a gray light, instantly piercing through the middle-aged martial artist. The middle-aged martial artist screamed as his body fell from the sky and crashed heavily on the ground. The martial artists chasing behind happened to see this scene and immediately stopped, their eyes filled with horror. They had just arrived and saw Zhao Shui raise her hand and kill the middle-aged martial artist from Divine Bird Palace. As for the rest, they did not know at all. However, this scene alone was enough to frighten them. One had to know that the other party was an expert from Divine Bird Palace. And a 6th-level venerable. This kind of person could be said to be extremely powerful, but he was killed with a raise of her hand. This was unbelievable. The most frightening thing was that the other party was very young and looked to be from the younger generation. Lin Xian and Zhao Shui ignored the martial artists who had rushed over and began to plunder the middle-aged martial artist's treasures. If they guessed correctly, this middle-aged martial artist should be an elder, and there should be a lot of treasures on him. However, Lin Xian sighed slightly after searching for a while. Although the items in the storage ring were indeed treasures in the eyes of others, he was not interested in them at all. He was only at the 5th heavenly layer, but he had seen too many treasures, so he didn't care about ordinary things at all. However, there were two things that caught his attention. These two swords were the two treasures that the middle-aged martial artist had just stolen, the jade Bodhi and the ghost flower. This jade Bodhi was only the size of a walnut. It was crystal clear and flickered with a faint light. Lin Xian examined it and found that the jade Bodhi had the effect of sobering, calming the mind. It could help the martial artist enter a meditative state and help the martial artist maintain a clear mind and not be disturbed by the evil aura. It could be said that it was a treasure that assisted in cultivation. As for the ghost flower ZC, it was a palm-sized flower with a total of 6 petals. On each of the petals, there was a mysterious pattern. Lin Xian knew that this was not artificially engraved, but innate. Moreover, he had seen this ghost flower in the inheritance left behind by King Danyu. It was a flower that could improve soul power. It could be said to be incomparably precious. No wonder the martial artists were chasing after them. Not to mention other things, just these two treasures were enough to move most of the venerables. Chapter 11:13. Miss Xiao, you've been absorbing the energy from the dragon pearl for the past few days. Although you have the virtual sky eyes, you should still be affected by the evil energy. This jade Bodhi can expel all evil energy. Now that I'm giving it to you, it can restrain the evil energy from the dragon pearl. If you have the spectral soul, it has the effect of increasing soul power. It'll be of great help to my martial soul. Why don't you give it to me? Alright. Zhao Shui nodded when she heard Lin Xian's arrangement. She knew that Lin Xian was thinking for her sake. Over the past few days, she had also felt that although she had the virtual sky eyes, she was still affected by the evil energy. If she had the jade Bodhi, she could suppress the evil energy and greatly increase the speed at which she absorbed the energy from the dragon pearl. It could be said that this item was very suitable for her. Zhao Shui smiled faintly. Then, she picked up the jade Bodhi and hung it around her neck. Suddenly, a cool aura was emitted from the jade Bodhi and quickly entered her body, suppressing the evil energy. Zhao Shui's body trembled and she felt much more relaxed. Lin Xian smiled when he saw the changes in Zhao Shui. The fact that the other party was able to suppress the evil-killing aura was undoubtedly good news for him. With a smirk, he kept the spectre flower in his storage ring. The spectral flower had the effect of increasing soul power. It was very useful to him. This ghost flower would allow Lin Xian's soul power to rise to another level. Furthermore, it would further strengthen his great dragon sword soul. However, Lin Xian didn't eat it immediately. He was going to use it when the time was right. Lin Xian and Zhao Shui's actions caused the group of cultivators behind them to be dissatisfied. Suddenly, cold snorts came from behind them. Lin Xian frowned when he heard these sounds. He turned around and looked behind him. Not far behind him stood a group of cultivators. Their faces were gloomy and filled with killing intent. At the very front of these people stood two figures. Clearly, these two people were the leaders of these people. What business do you have here? Zhao Shui asked coldly. Hearing this, the faces of those martial artists became even gloomier. The leaders snorted and quickly said, "We are the Li clan, one of the 8 great clans under young Master Ling Feng. May I know who you are?" This woman was called Li Jia, and she was the most outstanding successor of the Li family's younger generation. Her cultivation had already reached the 6th heavenly layer of the Venerable Realm. "Isn't it a little inappropriate for the two of you to take away our things without saying a word?" At this moment, another person beside the Li family spoke. It was a bald young man who had also reached the 6th heaven of the Honorable Realm. "And who are you?" Lin Xian asked with a frown. "I am Sun Tao, a disciple of the Sun family under young Master Ling Feng." He was indeed a member of the Sun family, and he was also the most outstanding disciple of the Sun family. Originally, the two clans had discovered a relic here and found 2 treasures. They were the Jade Bodhi and the Ghost Flower, but they did not expect that the hidden Divine Bird Palace cultivators would snatch them away. So they tried their best to chase after them, and what happened next was the scene that Lin Xian and the others encountered. These people from the 8 great clans did not expect that Lin Xian and Li Jia would be so fierce. They killed the Divine Bird Palace cultivators in an instant and divided the treasures that they had taken a fancy to. How could they tolerate such a thing? After all, those 2 things were extremely precious. Although they were shocked by the strength of Lin Xian and Zhao Shui, they had more people, so if they really fought, they were not afraid. In particular, Sun Tao and Li Jia, who were leading the group, were even more shocked. This was because they knew that the disciples they had brought along were the elite disciples of their families and were extremely powerful. However, the other party had killed all of them with just a flick of his finger. Wasn't this method a little too terrifying? "Brat, how dare you kill our people? Don't you want to live anymore?" Sun Tao gritted his teeth and said, "I even dared to kill Lu Lai, let alone you." Lin Xian showed a trace of disdain. "What? Kill Lu Lai?" Chapter 11:14. They pointed at Lin Xian as their bodies trembled. You're that Lin Xian? That's right, that's me. Lin Xian said proudly. When these words were spoken, everyone was in an uproar. They all looked forward, their expressions shaken. They weren't unfamiliar with this name because they'd received an order in the past that if they encountered Lin Xian in the Hidden Sky realm, they were to immediately kill him without mercy and leave no survivors. Not because of anything else, but because the other party had killed Lu Lai. Lu Lai was just like them, a genius disciple of the 8 big families. However, Lu Lai's sister was favored by child Ling Feng and had become his woman. Therefore, the Lu family's status had risen, and Lu Lai's status was even more honorable. Moreover, the kill order was issued by Lu Lai's sister, Lu Mei. However, they did not expect to meet Lin Xian here. Brat, I didn't expect to meet you here. Since you dared to kill Lu Lai, you're dead meat. Humph, I advise you to give up and you might be able to die a quick death. Otherwise, you won't have a good ending if you offend child. The seductive lady sneered. Do you know that the kill order was issued by Lu Mei? She's child's woman. Do you think you can escape? Li Jia was very confident because no one who offended child Ling Feng would be able to survive. Lin Xian was no exception. She was just a woman and there was nothing to be afraid of. Lin Xian shook his head and did not care at all. Indeed, he did not care. Now that his strength had increased greatly, he would not be afraid even if he faced a 7th heaven honorable realm expert. Moreover, this was only the beginning. If he could obtain even more treasures, his strength would increase again. At that time, he wouldn't care about young Master Ling Feng anymore. You're boasting shamelessly. Today, I'll take your life. If we get your head, we'll definitely be rewarded greatly. Therefore, you can die in peace. The bald man, Sun Tao, shouted coldly as his body released a powerful aura. With a flick of his finger, a good treasure sword appeared in his hand. As he waved his arm, the long sword vibrated and emitted a dazzling light. In an instant, a sharp sword chi slashed forward. Do you need help? Zhao Shui asked. No need, it's just a few small fries. Lin Xian shook his head slightly. It just so happened that he had recently increased his strength and hadn't fought yet. Now was the perfect time to use them as practice. While Lin Xian and Zhao Shui were chatting, they clenched their fists and countless rays of blood-red light gathered to form a blood-red sword. Then it quickly enlarged and slashed out fiercely. As soon as the blood-red longsword appeared, the void trembled, and an endless murderous aura filled the air. A bright red sword light blossomed like a long river of blood, making one's scalp go numb. Facing Sun Tao, Lin Xian didn't take out a weapon at all. He only used his spirit power to condense a sword chi. However, this sword was too terrifying. Bang! In the next moment, the 2 sword lights clashed in the air, emitting a deafening sound. Then, under everyone's shocked gazes, Sun Tao's sword flew out of his hand. His entire body seemed to have suffered a heavy blow, and he spat out blood as he flew out. What? How is this possible? Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. As for Li Jia, she screamed with a face full of disbelief. This was because Sun Tao's strength was similar to hers. They were both at the 6th heaven of the Venerable Realm. Such strength could be said to be extremely powerful among the younger generation. Even some of the older generation were no match for them. However, Sun Tao was defeated in a single move. Moreover, it was a crushing defeat. She couldn't believe it. I don't believe it, I don't believe it. This must be a coincidence. Li Jia shook her head, her eyes full of disbelief. She bit her lips so hard that they almost bled. In the next moment, she made up her mind and quickly attacked. Careless, Sun Tao must have been careless. That's why this kid succeeded. This time, I'll go all out. I don't believe that kid can block it. He's just a 5th heaven of the Venerable Realm kid. How strong can he be? Li Jia quickly calmed down, and a sinister smile appeared on the corners of her mouth again. She had already seen Lin Xian's cultivation. He was only at the 5th heaven of the Venerable Realm. Moreover, she believed that Sun Tao must have been careless just now, which was why his opponent succeeded. However, she wasn't going to be careless this time. Die, brat! Li Jia quickly waved her palms, and palm shadows flickered in the air, connecting together and imprinting themselves in the void. Suddenly, heaven and earth trembled, and there was a loud explosion in the void. Then, a terrifying force quickly surged out and pressed down on Lin Xian. The power was too terrifying. It was as if a tyrannosaurus was rampaging in the palace, causing the entire sky to tremble. One had to admit that Li Jia was very strong. She was definitely one of the top existences among the younger generation. Even the older generation was inferior to her. However, it was a pity that she had met Lin Xian, who was even stronger and more monstrous than her. Looking at the shocking palm shadows, Lin Xian was expressionless. Then he raised his arm, and countless blood-red sword qi revolved around his palm. They quickly intertwined and formed a huge blood-red cauldron. The huge cauldron was completely formed by sword qi, and it emitted a red light as if there was blood flowing on it. Along with it, there was an unusually fierce aura and a thick blood qi. In the next moment, Lin Xian threw out the blood sword cauldron in his hand. Rumble! Once the blood sword cauldron was thrown out, the void trembled as if it would collapse at any time. The blood-red light dyed the entire sky red. In the next moment, the blood sword cauldron quickly shuttled through the air and collided with the palm shadows. In the blink of an eye, the two collided. However, the shocking thing was that the collision didn't stop at all. In the next moment, the blood sword cauldron directly tore apart the palm shadows that filled the sky, and then crashed into Li Jia with an even more terrifying force. What? That's impossible! Seeing this, Li Jia finally screamed in horror. She couldn't believe that the palm shadows that she had thrown out with all her might were easily torn apart like paper. This was completely beyond her understanding. However, while she was in a daze, the blood sword cauldron violently bombarded her body and sent her flying. Li Jia was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. At the same time, she kept vomiting blood and was severely injured. In just 2 moves, Lin Xian was severely injured like 2 6th-level supremacies. This scene stunned the remaining cultivators. That was a 6th-level supremacies. They were extremely powerful existences, but they were easily swatted away like flies. They couldn't believe it. No, impossible, I don't believe it. Brother Sun Tao and sister Li Jia are the most powerful beings in our younger generation. How could they lose? Damn it, who is this kid? How can he be so powerful? Is he really from the younger generation? Why do I feel like he's a peerless old monster? This kid is too powerful. Should we run? The dark lightning wood that was in the center of everyone suddenly disappeared. What? It disappeared? Disappeared? How is that possible? It must be you guys who did it. Young Master Ling Feng's people shouted. We did it? Why do I feel that you guys snatched it? Young Master Annel's people were also anxious. The 2 groups of people fought, and soon after, they started fighting. As for the instigator, the snow-white little monkey, it had already left. Zhao Shui looked at the snow-white little monkey in astonishment. To be exact, it was the small worn-out bowl in its hand. Who would have thought that this small bowl had such a miraculous function? His gaze was cold as he looked ahead with a piercing, murderous intent. Lin Xian and Zhao Shui hadn't gone far at all. The 2 of them were hiding in the dark, avoiding everyone's soul detection. At this moment, they frowned when they heard the words of the group of people in front of them. I didn't expect them to be disciples of the Shun family, Lin Xian muttered. Zhao Shui snorted coldly. Who cares if they are from the Shun family or the Wang family? If they want to kill me behind my back, they are dead meat. Lin Xian saw Zhao Shui's cold expression and immediately shook his head slightly. In the past, Zhao Shui wasn't so fierce. However, it was quite impossible to kill these disciples of the Shun family. If they did so, it was very likely that they would be hunted down by the elders of the Shun family. This wasn't worth it for them. Therefore, Lin Xian said slowly, Wouldn't it be too easy to kill them? Oh, you have other ideas? Zhao Shui turned around and glanced at Lin Xian. Of course, this group of people must have found some treasure vault nearby. We will follow them secretly and wait for them to break the seal before we take action to snatch it. I think the feeling of losing the treasure in our hands is worse than killing them. Hearing Lin Xian's suggestion, Zhao Shui was also greatly surprised. She said in surprise, "It seems that you don't have a good relationship with this faction. However, I like your suggestion very much." The two reached a consensus and continued to hide in the shadows. Lin Xian had the heaven-changing art to conceal his presence and wasn't afraid of being discovered. Zhao Shui's void sky eye also emitted a faint golden wave of light that enveloped Zhao Shui's graceful body, isolating her from all soul probing. The two of them were like ghosts in a black hole, hiding around the Shun family disciples. During this time, many cultivators came, but they were quickly driven away by the Shun family disciples. Obviously, they wanted to monopolize this place. After driving away the other factions, the Shun family disciples didn't immediately make a move. Instead, they waited quietly as if they were waiting for someone. Soon, a team arrived from afar. There were about 20 to 30 people in this team, including a few elders. As soon as this team appeared, the Shun family disciples cheered. Obviously, this was the group they were waiting for. "Elders, you're finally here," said the tall youth, Shenhua. "Young Master Hua, let's begin." An elder's eyes lit up. "After our investigation, this place should be a treasure vault. However, this vault has a powerful seal that is very difficult to break. However, from the scattered earth crystals and other things, there are definitely many precious items inside. Therefore, I feel that we need to break the seal." Hearing Shenhua's information, the elders were also excited. "In that case, let's break the seal." After that, several elders and young outstanding disciples gathered together and prepared to break the seal. As for the weaker disciples, they formed a defensive circle around the perimeter to prevent other forces from interfering. Bang, bang, bang. He was definitely incomparably powerful. Even Seventh Heaven Venerables have differences in strength. Today, I'll teach you a lesson and let you know that there's always someone stronger than you. The purple-robed old man faced Zhao Shui with the attitude of a senior. "Is that so? I'd like to see what right you have to say that." Zhao Shui sneered. Then, the two of them faced each other from a distance. Although they didn't attack, their auras had already begun to clash in the air. Low sounds of collision rang out continuously in the air. Flashes of lightning flashed from time to time. It was very obvious that the two of them were already competing. Everyone retreated one after another, leaving a considerable distance for the two of them. Because a Seventh Heaven Venerable realm was too terrifying, just their aura alone wasn't something they could resist. Lin Xian also stepped lightly and returned to a safe distance to watch silently. He had already seen Zhao Shui's strength before, so he wasn't worried that she would be injured at all. Lin Xian shifted his gaze away from Zhao Shui and looked at the treasury again. It seemed that he still wanted to continue seizing. Chapter 1121. A fifth heavenly layer exalted realm cultivator actually possesses the strength of a sixth heavenly layer exalted realm cultivator. I must say that you've truly surprised me. However, no one can casually kill a disciple of my Shun family. You're no exception. I'll personally take action and kill you as a sacrifice to the spirit of my Shun family's disciple. What? Shenhua was going to make a move? Everyone's hearts trembled when they heard those words. The reason for that was because Shenhua was different from the dead armored young man. He was not a fifth heavenly layer exalted realm cultivator, but a sixth heavenly layer exalted realm cultivator. Although the mysterious young man before them possessed the battle prowess of a sixth heavenly layer exalted realm cultivator, he was still not a sixth heavenly layer exalted realm cultivator. Thus, he would definitely not be able to gain the upper hand against a sixth heavenly layer exalted realm cultivator like Shenhua. Furthermore, Shenhua was not an ordinary sixth heavenly layer exalted realm cultivator. He was a core disciple of the Shen family. His strength was definitely unimaginable. It seemed that the Shen family was truly enraged this time. However, the older generation members of the Shen family had worried expressions on their faces. The reason for that was because the young man before them was simply too strange. They were slightly worried. "Young Master Hua, there's no need for you to take action against a mere thief. Why don't you let me do it? That's right. I can slap someone like him to death with a single hand." The people who spoke were the older generation members. "There's no need. I alone am enough to deal with him," Shenhua said proudly. "This kid is too strange. I'm afraid there's no need to say any more. If I'm afraid of such a small matter, how could I be worthy of being a genius disciple of the Shen family?" Shenhua said coldly. Indeed, he had rarely been defeated ever since he started cultivating. Apart from a few people of the younger generation who were older than him and whom he could not defeat, he did not take the others seriously at all. Especially now that he had broken through to the sixth heavenly layer exalted realm, he was even more confident that he could contend against those older generation members, let alone this young man who was only a fifth heavenly layer exalted realm cultivator. His opponent was indeed strange, but he was absolutely confident that he could kill him. One had to admit that Shenhua was definitely an outstanding genius. Regardless of whether it was his cultivation or strength, he far surpassed his peers. He was already able to contend against those older generation members who had lived for hundreds of years. He did not take a single step forward as he stood. His strong and powerful heavenly layer X's, he grabbed the long saber at his waist. This long saber was not ordinary. It was a half-earth step artifact. The scabbard was dark green in color. It was made from the skin of a 5-star demon general tiger shark. Precious gems were engraved on it, and they were extremely dazzling. Disregarding everything else, just this scabbard alone was something that countless people could only look up to. "Artifact! That's a half-earth step artifact." Someone cried out. "Looks like Shenhua is serious. He used a half-earth tier prized artifact right off the bat. Clearly, he wants to go all out and kill his opponent in one strike, not giving him any chance." Seeing this scene, everyone sucked in a cold breath. This was because they could no longer think of any way that Lin Xian could turn defeat into victory. In terms of cultivation, he was only at the fifth heavenly layer, which was no match for Shenhua. In terms of cultivation techniques and martial skills, Shenhua's foundation was also profound, far surpassing those of the same level. Chapter 11:22. No, I won't lose. Shenhua was heartbroken. His expression was ferocious, and he was no longer as calm and arrogant as before. In the next moment he struggled with all his might like a madman, but it was to no avail. "Impossible, how can you be so powerful?" He was completely mad, and the confidence in his heart was shattered. Originally, he was also a prodigy in his family. Apart from a few older brothers, he was not afraid of any opponents at all. However, Lin Xian's strength now made him feel as if he had been struck by lightning. The confidence and fighting spirit that he had accumulated over many years were completely shattered. That was because Lin Xian was too powerful. His cultivation level was lower than his, but his strength was much higher than his. Facing Lin Xian was like facing a seventh heaven supremacy. This made him unable to resist at all. Meanwhile, the expressions of the older generation of the Shen family behind him changed drastically. That was because Shenhua's identity was not ordinary. He was a direct disciple, and they could not afford to lose him. At the same time, they were extremely shocked. They had long expected that the other party was very strange, but they did not expect that the degree of strangeness was far beyond their imagination. A fifth heaven supremacy had suppressed a sixth heaven supremacy with a raise of his hand. This technique was really too terrifying. Thus, they did not dare to delay and quickly attacked, afraid that Lin Xian would kill Shenhua. "Stop, you little thief! Hurry up and release him, and I'll spare your life. Otherwise, there will be no way for you to live in this world." A few of the older generation were enraged, and they instantly exploded with unparalleled power. The power was extremely terrifying, and it was as if it was going to shatter the entire cave. Fortunately, the people who attacked were all very powerful, and their control of power was very precise. Thus, the power did not destroy the cave. Instead, it all surged toward Lin Xian. Looking at this scene, the surrounding cultivators were shocked again. The older generation was too powerful. Each of them was far more powerful than Shenhua. At this moment, if they attacked together, it was likely that no one could resist. This Lin Xian was very powerful, but he probably did not have the strength to resist so many of the older generation. Thus, for a moment, everyone's hearts were in their mouths again. Lin Xian's expression was also dark. With so many of the older generation attacking, even he would find it difficult to resist. However, his expression was cold and he was fearless. The next moment he snorted coldly, "I'll kill whoever dares to attack me." After saying that, he exerted a little force in his hand, and Shenhua, who was in the middle of his palm, suddenly screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Hearing this scream, the expressions of those older generation figures changed. They quickly clenched their teeth and withdrew their power. They didn't dare to make a move. If they didn't kill Lin Xian in an instant, they were afraid that the other party would definitely kill Shenhua. At that time, things would get out of hand. The entire Shen family would probably be furious. Therefore, these people withdrew their forces in time, but they didn't give up. Instead, they surrounded Lin Xian. In the distance, the purple-robed old man who was battling Zhao Shui also heard the news, and his face instantly became gloomy. With a cold snort, he ignored Zhao Shui and quickly rushed towards Lin Xian. Zhao Shui also appeared beside Lin Xian in a flash. Both sides faced each other, and the atmosphere in the entire space was extremely tense. "Kid, I advise you not to make a mistake. Quickly let him go. Otherwise, I'm afraid there will be no way for you to live in Tianwu continent." The purple-robed old man said coldly, "I can let him go, but it depends on whether you have sincerity or not." Chapter 11:23. Following Lin Xian's countdown, the air once again condensed as if it was about to freeze. "Young man, leave some leeway for us to meet in the future." The purple-robed elder gritted his teeth and said, "Meet in the future? Who are you trying to fool? Do you think with our relationship we can meet in the future?" Lin Xian sneered and continued, "For 3. There were still 2 breaths left. However, the Shen family members were still hesitating. At this moment, Lin Xian spoke again. He spoke, "It seems that this brat's life is not limited to just one treasury. I wonder what will happen to you if this news reaches the Shen family?" Hearing Lin Xian's words, everyone's expression changed. The Shen family elders' expressions changed greatly, and a trace of fear appeared in their eyes. The purple-robed elder's pupils shrank, and his expression became extremely ugly. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, "We agree to your conditions. The treasury is yours. Hurry up and let him go." Previously, they had been blinded by the treasures in the treasury, so they had forgotten some things. Shenhua was a direct bloodline disciple, and his grandfather was a very powerful elder in the Shen family. If the news of them not saving Shenhua got out, then they would end up in a miserable state. Therefore, they did not dare to hesitate any longer and quickly agreed to Lin Xian's conditions. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian smiled. He spoke again, "Then it's a deal. However, we have to retrieve the treasures in the treasury first. Only then can I let this brat go. I hope what you said is true. Otherwise, no one in the world can save you." The purple-robed elder waved his sleeve. He was gritting his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. "Hurry up and retrieve everything in the treasury. After that, we will leave this place." Lin Xian said to Zhao Shui. Now that he had trapped Shenhua, It was inconvenient for him to make a move. Therefore, he asked Zhao Shui to retrieve the treasures. Zhao Shui nodded. Then her figure flashed, and she arrived in front of the treasury. She formed a hand seal, and the void sky eye appeared. It quickly formed a pale golden vortex to retrieve the treasures in the treasury. The little white monkey also flew over and quickly attacked. It hugged the shabby little bowl and mumbled to itself like a little immortal. Under the horrified gazes of the crowd, the small bowl rapidly expanded as it crazily absorbed the treasures in the treasury. The snow-white monkey's speed was even faster than Zhao Shui's. Lin Xian was also surprised. He didn't think that the little white monkey's worn-out bowl would have such a function. Looking at the speed at which it was being collected, it was definitely one of a kind. After that, Zhao Shui and the little white monkey searched frantically. Soon, the entire treasury was emptied. Not even a speck of dust was left. After doing all this, Zhao Shui's figure flashed and came to Lin Xian's side. The snow-white little monkey also sat back down on Lin Xian's shoulder. Lin Xian, on the other hand, wore a solemn expression and said in a deep voice, "Retreat to a safe distance and give us some space to leave. Everyone back off." The purple-robed elder's face was gloomy as he turned around and ordered the Shun family's warriors. The Shun family's warriors were unwilling. Their hearts were bleeding. That was the treasury left behind by an ancient elite. It was filled with extremely precious items. However, at this moment, it was emptied. Not even a strand of hair was left behind. They were about to go crazy. However, due to the order, they could only grit their teeth and retreat. Everyone stared intently at Lin Xianxian and Zhao Shui. They had already decided that once the other party released Shenhua, they would chase after the two of them with all their might. They had to take back the treasures that they had lost. After retreating to a safe distance, Lin Xian estimated that it was about time. He and Zhao Shui looked at each other and nodded slightly. Then he waved his hand and released Shenhua. The moment Shenhua was thrown out, the Shun family's elders moved. Two of the elders went to catch Shenhua to prevent him from being captured again. The other elders and warriors quickly chased after Lin Xian and Zhao Shui. They swore to take them down. Bush, bush, bush. Countless rays of light flew as everyone rushed forward crazily. In particular, the purple-robed elder's speed was even more astonishing. He was like a flint that lit a flint. In an instant he arrived at the place where Lin Xian was originally standing. He slapped down and covered Lin Xian's body. However, the next moment he frowned. An afterimage. Don't waste your energy. You won't be able to catch up. Lin Xian's laughter came from the front. He had used the illusory demon steps, and his speed was much faster than before. Not only that, but a pair of tempest wings appeared on his back. With a light flap, he flew away as fast as lightning. Zhao Shui was not slow either. She followed closely behind Lin Xian. The two of them were terrifyingly fast. Even a 7th-level supremacy would not be able to catch up to them. However, the purple-robed elder did not give up. He still quickly chased after them. As long as he could get close to the two of them, he could stop them and wait for the main force behind. However, the more he chased, the more shocked he became because the distance between the two of them did not decrease at all. In fact, it even increased. This made him extremely shocked. Zhao Shui could still understand. After all, the other party was a 7th-level supremacy, and his strength was not inferior to hers. However, Lin Xian's performance shocked him. Lin Xian's speed was actually faster than his, which was unacceptable to him. Damn it, who exactly is this kid? Why is he so strange? He was extremely frustrated. Lin Xian's figure was about to disappear from his sight. The purple-robed elder gritted his teeth and was about to use a secret technique. However, at that moment, a freezing force suddenly came from the front, and the entire passage in front of him was completely frozen. It was like a world of ice and frost. An unusually bone-piercing cold aura filled the air, causing his body to stiffen a little. With a cold shout, the purple-robed elder channeled his spiritual power and shattered the cold aura. Although the cold aura could not cause him any harm, it still slowed him down a little. At that moment, Lin Xian and Lin Xian had already disappeared. Damn you little thief. If I see you again, I'll definitely kill you. The purple-robed elder roared at the sky like a crazy wild beast. His voice shook the surroundings and was extremely terrifying. However, all of this was useless because Lin Xian and Zhao Shui had already left. The two of them used a secret technique to conceal their bodies and aura. Then, they quietly advanced into the depths of the cave. After completely getting rid of the Shun family's pursuit, Lin Xian and Zhao Shui stopped. Then, they began to organize and distribute the treasures that they had obtained. As Lin Xian had played a key role in the entire operation by capturing Shenhua, Lin Xian ended up with 60% of the treasures while Zhao Shui had 40%. Zhao Shui was not dissatisfied. If she had acted alone, she would have at most snatched a few treasures. She would not have emptied the entire treasury like now. Therefore, she was very satisfied with the current distribution. Lin Xian was ecstatic. The harvest this time was much more than all of his previous operations combined. Moreover, this treasury was extraordinary. It was filled with extremely precious items. If they were placed in the mainland, countless people would go crazy for them. Lin Xian picked some items that could be used temporarily and placed them by his side. He carefully kept the rest of the items in his storage ring. She was wearing a long pink dress which emitted a sparkling and translucent light, revealing her snow-white thighs and proud twin peaks. She was holding a pink paper umbrella, which made her look extremely alluring. However, at this moment, her voice was rather cold. Give face? The Murong family doesn't need you to give face. An old lady with a head full of white hair was standing behind Murong Qingqing. When she heard the other party's threat, she scoffed coldly. Since that's the case, I'd like to see how long you can keep up this stubborn act. The girl in pink held the paper umbrella and walked forward step by step. Then, the aura of a 7th-level honorable martial artist exploded from the pink woman's body. The moment this aura appeared, the surrounding cultivators felt their scalps go numb. On the other side, Murong Qingqing's expression was solemn as if she was facing a great enemy. To be honest, she could still hold her ground against the previous group of 3. However, if a 7th-level honorable martial artist were to join the fray, her situation would become very dangerous. After all, a 7th-level honorable martial artist's powers were extremely terrifying. With the addition of such a powerful cultivator, the situation of the battle would definitely change. However, it was impossible for her to admit defeat just like that. Then, Murong Qingqing cried out delicately. With a flip of her lily-white hand, a fist-sized imperial jade seal appeared in her hand. The imperial jade seal was scarlet red and a real phoenix was carved on it. It was very lifelike. Light flowed on it as if blood was flowing in a pool. It was exceptionally lifelike. Once the scarlet imperial jade seal appeared, a terrifying aura immediately erupted and resisted the pressure of a 7th-level honorable martial artist from the woman in red. Seeing that the other party was able to resist her aura, the pink woman's eyes darkened and she scoffed coldly. Light flowed around her body, and the paper umbrella in her hand also emitted light. Then, a beautiful ray of light flew out of the umbrella. It was like a fairy flying from the heavens as it emitted a blinding light and slashed forward. It was an exceptionally stunning ray of light that instantly lit up the entire sky. The surrounding cultivators did not even have time to react before the ray of light arrived in front of Murong Qingqing. It was too terrifying. The ray of light was extremely sharp and quickly pierced towards Murong Qingqing. It was about to pierce through her. Not only that, but the aura of a 7th-level honorable martial artist from it was even more terrifying. However, Murong Qingqing cried out delicately. She held the scarlet imperial jade seal in her lily-white hand and blasted it forward. In the next moment, the pink ray of light violently collided with the imperial jade seal and let out an earth-shattering sound. However, what shocked everyone was that the scarlet imperial jade seal actually blocked the ray of light. What? It blocked it? The cultivators on the pink woman's side were shocked and in disbelief. The pink woman was also extremely shocked and could not help but squint her eyes. Murong Qingqing stretched out her lily-white hand and held the scarlet imperial jade seal. The bottom of the imperial jade seal was square, and there was a real dragon coiling around each side. There was a phoenix lying on top of it. It was like an immemorial divine beast that was looking down at the world below. Under Murong Qingqing's control, the phoenix on the imperial jade seal seemed to have awakened and released an infinite ray of light. In a daze, everyone seemed to have seen a huge phoenix awaken and spread its wings to cover the surroundings. Scarlet light flowed and divine light bloomed. It was as if the blood of a god had spilled. It was extremely terrifying. What kind of treasure is this? It's so terrifying. Even I feel a little scared. Chapter 11:25. She'd originally thought that she could easily take down Murong Qingqing with her help. However, she hadn't expected that she wouldn't gain the upper hand at all. Instead, she was intimidated by her opponent's aura. Pink sky fragrance, although you're also a 7th level supremacy, you're nothing compared to my young lady. The white-haired old lady behind Murong Qingqing spoke proudly. The green-robed middle-aged man also frowned. His eyes flickered as he stared at the scarlet jade seal. Then he seemed to recall something and his expression changed. Could this be the true Phoenix Jade Seal? There was even a trace of panic in his voice. At least you're knowledgeable. Of course, this is the true Phoenix Jade Seal. The old lady spoke again. Impossible, how is this possible? This time, it was the black-robed middle-aged man's turn to be shocked. As far as I know, not only does controlling the true Phoenix Jade Seal require an extremely high cultivation, but more importantly, a special bloodline power is required to activate it. No one from the Murong clan has met this requirement for nearly 1,000 years. Could it be that she possesses that bloodline? At the end of his sentence, the middle-aged man looked at Murong Qingqing with extreme shock. This time, the white-haired old lady didn't answer. Instead, the middle-aged man muttered to himself with an extremely shocked expression. Damn it! Looking at this situation, this Murong Qingqing seems to have that kind of bloodline. I'm afraid the situation isn't good. Duan-mo, what are you muttering about? The pink lady frowned. The shock on the dark green man's face surprised everyone, especially the pink woman. She was even more puzzled. She was puzzled because she'd never seen such an expression on his face. Duan-mo, what are you talking about? What bloodline? The pink lady asked in confusion. The black-robed middle-aged man took a deep breath and tried his best to control the shock in his heart. Then, he said in a deep voice, I can't explain this to you in a short period of time. However, you should have heard of the Murong clan's origin. Murong Shue's bloodline is very similar to that of the Murong clan's first ancestor. What? It's actually that bloodline? The pink lady shrieked in shock when she heard the middle-aged man's words. She hadn't expected Murong Qingqing's bloodline to be so pure that it had actually shown signs of atavism. Damn it, the Murong clan is really lucky to have someone with atavism. The pink lady's voice was filled with jealousy. They were all cultivators from the top clan's bloodline. However, with the passage of time, after thousands of years, the bloodline in their bodies had become very weak. Very few people could be like their ancestors, with the power of their bloodline outstanding. It was very rare, it was atavism to atavism's atavism. Atavisms. However, this kind of phenomenon was extremely rare and almost impossible to find. They never thought that one would appear in the Murong family, and it was right in front of them. Not to the Murong clans, to the Murong clan. To Murong est right to Murong Qingqing. Is a Qingqing's right, are we going to give up? Those 6th level supremacies looked towards the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man frowned. Just as he was about to speak, the pink lady gritted her teeth and said, So what if hers bloodline's atavism? So what if she's strong? Their numbers are limited. If we join forces, I don't believe we can't suppress her. This isn't a battle of life and death. We just need to keep Murong Qingqing occupied while the others go for the treasures. The eyes of the middle-aged man in the dark green robe lit up when he heard this. He smiled. Indeed, he had been shocked by Murong Qingqing's bloodline power before, which was why he had lost his cool. Now that the Pink Lady had reminded him, he was suddenly enlightened. Murong Qingqing was strong, but they weren't weak either. Moreover, they were an alliance of many forces. Among them, the dark green man was a cultivator from the Palace of Gods of War. Other than that, there were also the 8 clans under Prince Lingfeng. There were also people from the Palace of Gods of Bird. With these forces together, they were definitely stronger than the Murong clan. Let's split up and attack. I'll keep Murong Qingqing occupied. Tian Xiang, you take the others to get the treasures. The dark green man said in a deep voice. Then he let out a long roar and charged toward Murong Qingqing again with a few 6th-level respect. The Pink Lady also led a group of cultivators, bypassing Murong Qingqing and rushing toward the treasures behind her. Seeing this, Murong Qingqing snorted coldly and took the initiative to attack. Purple qi surrounded her body and quickly infused into the Imperial Jade Seal. Then, the Imperial Jade Seal trembled gently. With the support of the spiritual power, it quickly grew bigger. It was like a small mountain, blooming with colorful light. The multicolored light shot out like a phoenix being born from the fire. Accompanying it was the low cry of a phoenix. The sound was abnormally terrifying. It tore through the 9 heavens and shook many cultivators, causing them to lose their footing. The cultivators from the Palace of Gods of Bird were even more shocked. They seemed to be in trouble. The aura in their bodies was suppressed and they couldn't even use half of their strength. On the Murong clan's side, their spirits were lifted. Everyone was in high spirits and quickly intercepted the enemy. In the next moment, Murong Qingqing waved her hand and a phoenix shadow quickly attacked. It hovered in the air and flew directly toward the Pink Lady. Like a phoenix dancing in the 9 heavens, it was extremely powerful. Damn it! When the Pink Lady saw this scene, she was so scared that her face turned pale. In the face of this terrifying attack, she didn't dare to be careless. She mobilized the spiritual power in her body and the surrounding spiritual qi to counterattack. She placed the paper fan in her hand horizontally and used it as a shield to block this attack. Rumble! The sound shook the sky. The cultivators behind the Red Lady only felt their ears roar. The spiritual power in their bodies was tumbling. Many of them vomited blood and were sent flying. Not only that, the surrounding mountain rocks collapsed. The entire space became extremely distorted and cracks spread in all directions. This attack was too terrifying. If it weren't for the protection of the array in the ancient cave mansion, this attack would have turned the entire cave mansion into ashes and no longer exist. However, even so, there was still a great shock in the surroundings. It was unforgettable. The Red Lady's face changed greatly. She only felt an irresistible force hit the paper umbrella in her hand and she was immediately pushed back. On the other side, the middle-aged man in the dark green robe was also stopped by the Murong clan. Both sides were in a stalemate again. In the next moment, the Pink Lady and the middle-aged man's faces darkened. They didn't expect this result. Although the Murong clan was a powerful clan, they also had the Palace of War Gods on their side. But now, there were more than 10 high-grade spirit stones in this place. In addition to the high-grade spirit stones, there were also a few broken weapons, which were extremely eye-catching. These weapons were extremely damaged. Some had been completely shattered into pieces while others could still be distinguished. Even though these weapons were damaged, they emanated energy that caused one's heart to palpitate. Everyone knew that these weapons weren't ordinary treasures, and they were the fragments of Earth-rank treasures. Even though these treasures were broken, their value was even more precious than a quasi-Earth-rank treasure. Moreover, the size of the fragments here was much larger than any of the fragments they'd encountered in the past. If they were able to obtain it and utilize other materials to refine it, then they would absolutely be able to refine a peerless weapon. Once such a weapon was refined, then even though its strength was inferior to a true Earth-rank treasure, it could crush any other weapon. If they were able to obtain such a treasure, then it would absolutely be able to improve their combat strength greatly. Besides this, There were other precious treasures of heaven and earth that caused others to go red with envy. Everyone guessed that these treasures probably belonged to the owner of the golden hand bone. However, a great battle might have occurred during the ancient times, causing that expert to perish and leave behind all these treasures. As for where the complete corpse had gone, no one knew at all. Moreover, this wasn't something that they were considering. What they were considering was how to obtain the treasures in this place as much as possible. Originally, this place had been discovered by the Murong family and other cultivators had no way of interfering. However, later on, the middle-aged man from the Palace of Gods of War had arrived. He had led a powerful team and joined forces with the other surrounding 6th-rank sects to fight against the Murong family. Hence, the current situation had occurred. Divide equally? You're all too greedy. Murong Qingqing scoffed coldly. We were the ones who discovered this place. I admit that you were the ones who discovered this place. However, do you think that you have the power to take it all for yourselves? The middle-aged man coldly asked, even though you have the true Phoenix Imperial Jade Seal and can fight against us, what about the others? You should know that our team is an alliance of other top forces. In terms of numbers and battle power, we've already surpassed the Murong family. If we were to really fight, I'm afraid that you won't be able to gain any benefits. Hearing this, the cultivators from the Murong family's faces darkened while Murong Qingqing's eyes flickered. Indeed, these words were not wrong. In terms of battle power, Murong Qingqing could rely on the true Phoenix Imperial Jade Seal to fight against the opponent's 7th-rank honorable martial artist. However, Murong Qingqing could not care less about the others. As for the other 6th-rank honorable martial artists and 5th-rank honorable martial artists, their opponents far outnumbered the Murong family. This did not mean that the Murong family was weak. Instead, their opponents were not just a single organization but an alliance of several top forces. Perhaps no family would be able to fight against a lineup like this. However, Murong Qingqing shook her head resolutely. It's impossible for us to divide evenly. If you're not willing, then let's fight. She was very determined because even though they were outnumbered, she had a peerless treasure like the true Phoenix Imperial Jade Seal in her hands. Coupled with the power of her bloodline, she was confident that she could suppress her opponents. Hence, she would not agree to their demands. Just as both sides were confronting each other and the atmosphere was becoming tense, Lin Xian and Zhao Shui quickly arrived nearby. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.